All right.
Well, hey, good morning, Indiana. Welcome to a special presentation of Progressive Indiana Network here at the 145th IDEA Conference from the French Lick Resort in French Lick, Indiana. I am Scott Aaron Rogers, host of the HoosLeft Podcast, and I will be your anchor here for today's festivities. And my fabulous co-host is the host of the Hold 'em Accountable Podcast, Derek Holder. Derek is the Andy Richter to my Conan O'Brien here today. Derek, say hi to the good folks at home.
Hello, everybody.
And in between us, we have Byron Holland as our first guest today. We're going to have a series of guests coming in through here. We've got candidates, we've got chairs, both real and, the kind you sit on. And activists, surprise guests, perhaps. We don't know. We do have a lineup here. We're going to be here for at least 2 hours, and we may have folks stop by in after that as well. But we appreciate you joining here with us today if you're watching online. Byron, why don't you say good morning to the folks out there and tell people what you're running for?
Well, good morning, Hoosiers. I am Byron like the poet and Holland like the country. I am the youngest nominee for Indiana State Senate, running in the 43rd District. My district, I say, if Indiana is shaped like a giant foot, I have the very heel of the state. So I'm running in all of Scott, Jefferson, Switzerland, Ohio, Dearborn, and portions of Jennings County. I'm a sixth-generation Hoosier, proudly from Austin, Indiana. Looking forward to working hard to hopefully send some good leadership to Indianapolis this November.
The 43rd there in the counties you mentioned, for the folks who aren't familiar with all of Indiana's geography, that is like down in the bottom southeast corner of the state, the general Cincinnati metro area, sort of. Is that correct?
Yeah, so about half an hour north of the Louisville metro, all the way to Cincinnati. So I'm in two media markets, which is always fun. I've got Louisville Cardinals fans, and I've got an equal amount of Cincinnati Bengals fans. So we root for both in the 43rd.
Fantastic. It's funny. I grew up in Northwest Indiana in Michigan City, sort of like halfway between Chicago and South Bend, and got the same sort of thing. The Bears and the Colts on Sunday. It was a good time. Listen, I understand. Like I've seen the pictures on the social media. You are out there working in the field. You are like getting at it, getting in the soil. Is that like your full-time gig is farming, or is that like a side hustle?
So campaigning is definitely right now a passion versus a profession. I do have a job that pays the bills and gives me health care. But working in the soil has always been a passion for me. As a sixth-generation Hoosier, I'm equally the sixth generation to break the soil on my land. When I am not campaigning, I am raising half-runner green beans, bodacious and peaches and corn, which for those of you who aren't familiar, those are variations of corn, sweet corn. Farming and agriculture is a way of life for us in Southern Indiana, and it is equally therapeutic, and it holds me accountable so that I'm able to serve and to help people, because it's a tremendous service to me as well as my constituents.
So you get the not the impression, but I think Republicans have done a good job branding themselves in a way as the party of rural America. Here you are out there, literally farming beans and corn and doing all that, and sort of breaking that stereotype. How you are in a largely rural district, I imagine. How are you breaking through with folks?
So what's important to know about me and my career is I also have served as a Purdue Extension Board president. So working with agriculture has been both a passion and a profession, to the regard of I am a pea carrot. For those of you who don't know what the heck that means, it means I have previously served on the Purdue Council for Agriculture-Based Research, Education, and Teaching. So I have worked on ag appropriations at the state level to make sure that whether it is the middle school student in Switzerland County who is showing a goat at their county fair, or it is a Purdue Extension educator teaching resilience and sustainability through sustainable agriculture. I have worked in that capacity to show it up for our agriculture community. And also for agriculture-based research to make sure that the investments that we make into our agriculture community are both sustainable and resilient for generations to come. That is a personal issue for me. I didn't do it for clout. I didn't do it for personal recognition. I believe that those who feed America represent a give a damn issue, and either you do or you don't.
And you can really relate to it. It's not like, sometimes you'll see politicians, they'll go show up, they'll like put a shovel in the ground and they'll cosplay as some sort of farmer or rancher. Boy, you remember George W. Bush and the cowboy hat back in the day, right? But you really live it, and I think that allows you to connect across the aisle in a way that maybe other folks aren't able to. What are the people in your community, especially I think in the agricultural community, talking about? I got to imagine the Trump tariffs are just crushing people.
Sure, I definitely get a flavor of that for sure. Crop insurance right now. I've met constituents in Jefferson County, and while we have had our fair share of devastating climate emergencies with the weather, certainly not comparable to our friends in the central and northern part of the state, and we're thinking of them right now as well. But last year, the Ohio River rose to its third highest in its recorded history. And to see that really adversely affect my district, we need to make sure that farmers and their crop insurance they're able to stay. If we believe as a state, if it is our position to help rural farmers, let's make sure that all the ingredients on the table are there for a recipe for them to be both resilient and sustainable. And as state senator, I'll fight for those types of appropriations to make sure that that is a reality, an economic reality.
What about away from the field in the other parts of your district? What are folks' primary concerns are as you're out there talking to them?
So living in the most southern part of the state, you can imagine rural health outcomes are a really big issue. There are many counties, Dearborn County specifically, in the most eastern part of my district, they have no ICU. You have to go to Florence County or Florence, Kentucky. You have to go to the Cincinnati metropolitan. If you're in life-saving critical care, you have to leave Indiana to get that. And I believe that's unacceptable, whether it is maternal health care, whether it is a loved one that you have that is fighting sepsis and they need their life saved. I don't believe that people should have to leave their community if they are in desperate need of care.
And you mentioned, your distance to the hospitals in some of these areas. I understand we've also got maternal care deserts in a lot of the rural parts of the state where you have to go, county or two over to see an OBGYN for women. And also I understand, I was talking to Nick Marshall, last week, maybe, I don't know what is time, but one of the things he was talking about was EMS and fire have been really affected by the Braun property tax cuts already. And what about schools? Obviously, that is a big area. One of the primary purview of the state legislature is education. We spend, I want to say, half of our budget in the state on education. In the school. Yeah, listen, we have, you can't see it on camera, we have a live studio audience. This is not something we're used to having. Listen to that. They're fans of public education out here. Am I right? So anyway, what's how are public schools down in your area being affected? Especially with the vouchers. I had a back to school special this past Tuesday with some folks, and one of the things we were talking about is the way privatization really affects rural communities, because they talk about school choice, right? Well, in communities like yours, there aren't really a lot of choices. It's not like there's a lot of private schools or charter schools that are out there. You're going to the public schools, you're pitching into this fund that the state is doling out to families that were already paying for their kids to go to private school. And so you're taking a haircut down there where you can least afford to.
Absolutely. So, a good friend of mine, her mother is a public school librarian at an elementary school in my district. And the real fiscal appropriations consequences that I'm seeing from the cuts that we are making to public education means that children who have desperate needs to succeed and thrive in an educational environment are being left inside schools during fire drills. This was what a elementary school librarian shared with me from my district. I believe that that is unbelievably tone deaf and ignorant of our state to make those types of cuts, because I can't promise through an appropriation or through a budget that it would solve an issue like that. But let's make sure as a state of Indiana that all of the necessary ingredients for folks to have the appropriations and help that they need are on the table. Whether they utilize those services or not, it's never acceptable that a child is left in school like that. And the primary reason is they don't have appropriate staff and funding to make sure that they can support that child and the environment that they need to succeed and thrive. So as state senator, I think it's important for your listeners to know that the next legislative session is a budget year. We will vote and pass a budget to fund state government for the next 2 years. And as a state senator, I'm calling on the governor, I'm calling on the administration to restore the line item that ensures that public education is an economic reality for folks. And that if we truly want to put our money where our mouth is, let's invest in public schools.
When the kids are getting through the public schools, they get, through K-12, go on to college. A lot of folks are leaving the state. We've got great public universities here in Indiana as well. But even like past that, keeping folks in the state to live and work, we're seeing a lot of brain drain in Indiana. How do we address that? The rural communities, the small towns, people are even internally moving toward the cities. How do we get folks to come back and revitalize those small towns and preserve that sort of Indiana small town way of life?
Sure. And I think it's important to people to know when they consider the way that this issue is reflected through education, that it stretches beyond K-12 education, that the cuts that we are seeing to education in our state also include college. Public university funding was cut by 5% in the governor's budget. Ask me how that relates to agriculture. Purdue University is a public university. The extension offices are ran by Purdue. They received a 5% cut as well. So it's not just about education. It's about agriculture. It's about making sure that rural communities have what they need to, again, succeed and thrive. To get to your question about people leaving rural areas, I think there's very rudimentary things that we can do to just show that we simply give a damn about their quality of living. Infrastructure right now, if you give a child paved sidewalks, if you give them additional lighting, you're getting a child home from their city park. And I believe that whenever we invest in infrastructure like that, that is genuinely sustainable for our smallest communities in Indiana, you attract people to come to those communities. And, I like to say we have Radiator Springs syndrome in Southern Indiana. If you've ever seen the Disney movie Cars, there is so much that is beautiful and special and worthy of acknowledgement from our state government. When it comes to these small communities, it's time to have a state senator who values that and cares.
Now, Byron, one thing that has been going across the entire nation right now, and especially with your proximity to Cincinnati, Louisville, flock cameras. How do you see, are they a benefit to the area? Are they horrible? What are your thoughts on flock?
So I understand a genuine apprehension from our constituents. Anytime that there truly is an invasion of privacy, I don't care if it's somebody coming on your private property or going through something that nobody truthfully asked for, it raises a concern for genuine oversight and accountability into these issues. I've met with sheriffs in my district. I've met with road deputies who serve our counties from a law enforcement perspective, who have shared with me the benefit of these services. However, I believe there needs to be more transparency in how they're being used. How long is the data being stored, and what is the source of funding and appropriations for all of this? That's where we're getting a lot of ambiguity. So I think if we really want people to have trust in things like flock cameras, we need to pull back the curtain and show them what it's doing. And if we're not able to do that, let's get rid of them.
Love it. Byron, we got a lot of folks that we're going to try and get in here today. So I'm going to go ahead and I bet you got a bunch of things you got to do today too. There's all so much going on here at the IDEA conference. Lovely place. This is my first time here. But before you skate, where can folks find you? Where can they reach you? How can they donate, volunteer, all that good stuff?
Of course. So I'll make a pitch. If you want to come and join me in my district, I'm having a public health and recovery town hall on Monday in Scottsburg, Indiana. August is International Overdose Awareness Month, so I'm using my platform. I'm using what I'm able to do as a candidate to make sure that I am held accountable so that people know what my positions are on issues surrounding public health. Would love to have anyone come and join me at the Scottsburg YMCA. You can find me online. My website is hollandforhoosiers.com. Would love to have your support. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a share. We're on social media, Byron Holland for State Senate. I look forward to engaging with you, and thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you, Byron. All right, everybody, let's get a big round of applause here for Byron Holland for State Senate. Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to have somebody else here joining us momentarily, but Derek, I'm a big fan of Byron Holland.
Oh, yeah, so am I.
Hey, all right. Wait, and here's our next guest coming on in. Join us, stepping into the gauntlet here. Here's State Rep Wendy Danchesser. Wendy, welcome. It's our first time meeting.
It is. Thank you all for coming to French Lick and making this easy for all of us.
Hey, listen, thank you for having us. It is an honor to be here and share our lovely Saturday noon with everybody. So listen, for the folks who don't know you, we were watching at home perhaps. We got folks watching out of state.
Wonderful.
Surprisingly large audience in the Pacific Northwest. They're all my family. But for the folks who don't know you, introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Wendy Danchesser. I am state representative for House District 71. And if you don't know your districts, if you don't speak district number, I am most of Jeffersonville, most of Clarksville, and a wee bit of New Albany. So Clark and Floyd counties.
So you are also down there, sort of Byron's neck of the woods, yes. Right on the river, right across from Louisville in the metro area there.
Yes. I don't want to sound like a former vice president candidate, but I can see Kentucky from my backyard.
So I think you are in a more urbanized area than Byron is, certainly, yes. And different concerns in your neck of the woods. What are you hearing from voters in your part of the state?
We've been out canvassing despite the heat and humidity. We've been trying to get out and talk to voters. And a couple of themes that are very, very obvious. Number one, anything affordability related. They'll bring up healthcare costs. The friends and family members are losing their benefits. That's not sitting well with a lot of people. So healthcare, they're still talking, as they should be, about childcare affordability and whether or not the state is providing the assistance through the voucher program that they should expect. I'm also hearing that small businesses are concerned about what's happening in this unstable environment, and they want to make sure that we can get back to some sense of normalcy and what to expect. And then on the other affordability issue really does fall around overall prices, whether it be utilities, food, services. They want to know that there's some stability in our future. And I think that's what Democrats can offer for them.
So, I was watching a couple weeks ago, I think it was, there was, maybe it was Charlestown, which is right there in your area, the big data center going in. And a lot of folks were upset about that. And I get it. It's a balancing act with these things. We want development, we want jobs, but on the other hand, these things are, hogs of energy, potentially of fresh water, and you've also got potential like light and sound pollution as well. How do we thread that needle and also the tax abatements? A lot of times these things aren't paying their fair share. How do we, if we're going to have these things, make sure they're working for everybody?
You've hit the nail on the head. If they're not working for everybody, then they're not working. So let's go back in history. I've spent my career in economic development. And so in 2018, if you think about it as a spigot, a water spigot, there was nothing dripping through for Indiana. We were getting nothing. The legislature, I wasn't there yet, but in 2018, they decided we wanted something to come through that. So they turned it on high. And what we have today is a result of that. We have a lot of data centers who are interested in coming to Indiana, and they want to get the benefits. What communities rightfully now are saying is, let's turn that back. There's too much coming through it, and it's too hot. Let's turn that back. Let's get back to the point where the local communities have some sense of control, can help determine where they go and what resources they're going to be allocated, and then let's figure out what the true benefit is. The other analogy is the pendulum swing. Mm-hmm. Pendulum swung really hot, really far to one side. It's time to bring it back, and it'll find its equilibrium. But we're not there yet. So the legislature has to act. In our communities, most of our communities have either passed moratoriums or are going through the process of moratoriums. And what that will do is buy them time to change their zoning codes so that they can ask those questions. And that's really what we want.
And Derek, do you have a question for State Rep Dan Chester? Okay. Put me on the spot here. So what else down there? You mentioned childcare, and we didn't have a chance to talk about that with Byron. And I know at the state level, there's still a massive waiting list for folks to get the childcare vouchers. And, you know, we think of this as a cost, right? The state paying for child care vouchers, but we don't think of like the potential economic boon of getting people into the workforce when you know parents can go back to work. It's right. Keeping a lot of folks out.
So I'm going to tie it in a little bit to your conversation about data centers. Data centers don't hire a lot of people, and we don't have a lot of people who are seeking jobs right now because they have everything else under control, and childcare is a big piece of that. When I first ran in 2024, the statistic was that Indiana had the most number of people per capita per child care facility out of all 50 states. We were first or 50th, depending on, we were in the worst scenario. And that was in 2024. It's gotten worse. And that, you know, there's no way to really measure that we're below 50 even further. We have lost child care facilities in my region, in my district. We have nothing to help those small businesses grow so that they can expand the child care that they're offering. And we know that the affordability challenge and the stress that's putting on parents, because many of them have lost their vouchers, is harmful to not only those individual families, but to the economy overall. If people want to work, we got to find a way to help them get into the workforce. Our employers are begging for that. So let's put our heads together. Let's find practical solutions that are going to solve the issues. And there are ways to create win-wins. And we got to start talking about them.
And one of those ways isn't to take away regulations either, because that's what's happening with the child care providers now as well.
I love that you brought that up. If a child care provider is having a harder time finding the workers to work in the facility, if you take the number and say they are responsible for 5 2-year-olds and double it to 10, do you think that worker is going to be more encouraged to show up and to work hard, or are they going to be discouraged? Mm-hmm. Most of us who get our workload doubled for no additional pay, we're not happy about it. And
now,
I think
that with 10 2-year-olds.
There is a reason that I did not choose childcare, because my patience level is small.
Listen, you are in a state house with 70 Republicans. It kind of is like being in a daycare with a bunch of 2-year-olds.
Well, a very cool analogy, but 2-year-olds are always like, mama, 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 when they need something. We are not treated as if we are important to their conversations. Now, I will say that for a group, I have to give credit where it's due. I've been in office for 2 years. I've never been treated with anything but respect as an individual. And so people need to hear that. There is hope in our state house. There's hope that we are still human and we can still recognize the value that people bring. The challenge that we have, though, is until we break the supermajority, they can be nice to us, but they don't have to listen to us. And I think that's where that's the corner we really need to turn. And November 3rd is the day to do it.
All right. Wendy Dantchesser, I think we only had you for about 10 minutes, so I'm going to let us wrap up here. But before we do, where can folks find out more about your reelection campaign? Where can they donate and volunteer?
Thank you for that question. I have a website. It's very simple. All three names, wendydantchesser.com. That's where to find out more about me. And it's also where I have an email address if you want to reach out. I have a Facebook page, Wendy Dantchesser for State Representative. And that's where I put my local events, some positions. And because I do have the office, please look at my caucus page and sign up for my newsletter. That's where I try to give a monthly update of really what I think the people in District 71 need to know, but it's good for people all throughout the state so that they can stay on top of those activities or those issues that are important to them and the people they love.
All right. Thank you so much, State Rep Wendy Dantchesser. Let's get a big hand.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. It was great to talk with a sitting state rep. We need more folks like her in our state house. Let us welcome in a couple of our favorite guests here. Well, first of all, our good friend Sharon White is joining us here right now on the couch from the veranda in French Lick. Sharon, good to see you in person.
Good to see you in person too. We spend a lot of time. We've spent a lot of time together this summer, but just from here up.
Yeah, no, it's great. I've really appreciated you coming on the podcast, joining me on the Sunday show on Who's Left This Week, 10:30 a.m. every Sunday on Progressive Indiana Network. By the way, we're gonna need to get you back in soon.
Absolutely.
By the way, we've missed you. But so we just talked to Representative Dantchesser, and she down in the Louisville metro area. Has more of the urban concerns right there. You're up in Fort Wayne in a heavily populated area, the second most populous city in the state. What is the dynamic in your community, in your race?
So in my race specifically, there are a lot of concerns that are both rural and more of that metropolitan. I have a good mix of that in my district. And quite frankly, a lot of it comes down to utility costs on both sides of that. Utility costs because Huntertown, which is a community that's within my district, it's on a well. And it's on a well that is drying up. It's on a well that is starting to produce very low quality water. So people are having to spend more on their water softening. They're having, they're having to spend more on the utility bill itself. They're spending $200 on a bill that is crappy, or on a bill that comes from crappy water. And then in Fort Wayne, I don't think we've had as many of the problems as folks who are on NIPSCO and other parts of the state, but we have seen rising in our rates. For sure.
I was going to ask about that because I know NIPSCO covers much of the northern part of the state. Are you on IMP out there, out by you guys?
So Allen County is kind of split into a few different things. Some folks are on Northeast Indiana Cooperative, and they are wonderful. Some are on Indiana Michigan Power, and none of us are on NIPSCO for our electric that I'm aware of, but we are for gas.
Thank God. NIPSCO really dropping the ball lately.
Absolutely, they are.
I guess just yesterday they were hit with a class action lawsuit for their response to these
sure
storms. Much of Northwest Indiana is still without power going on 2 weeks now after that derecho that came through and with the straight line wind events. There were a couple tornadoes, dropped a bunch of rain. That's what caused the floods here in central Indiana. But our hearts really going out to the folks up in Northwest Indiana.
And speaking of central Indiana, I actually want to bring my friend Kirsten Root.
Let's see if we can.
We're gonna have to be very close.
We're just gonna smash in here together. All right. Listen, it's giving the opening theme from Friends.
Yeah, a little bit. It is.
So Kirsten Root is running for state senate in District 21. You're in the Kokomo-Tipton area, if I recall. Is that right?
Yep, Westfield up to Kokomo.
And Kirsten's been with us on the podcast and on the Sunday show as well. It's good to see you in person.
Likewise, everybody's so tall.
So we talk a lot about the redistricting effort in the state that failed in December, and that was at the hands of a few of our state senators who actually operated in good faith and good conscience and rejected President Trump's redistricting scheme. And as a result, he and his allies primaried many of those state senators who had a smidgen of a conscience. And one of those is the state senator in your district. And there is you've got a far-right MAGA opponent now, I understand.
Yes, I sure do. Tracy Powell won his primary this year. And it's really funny because he was very proud to have that Donald Trump endorsement in the primary. But now we're walking that back for some reason. It's almost like he's embarrassed of it or knows he did something that was going to intentionally harm people and thinks that's going to hurt him in the general.
What are the people in your area talking about? I imagine the entire Trump administration, listen, the Trump endorsement, to your point, is kind of a kiss of death. And I think a lot of the folks that maybe voted for him in the past even are starting to see that. Is that correct?
It definitely has been a topic of discussion. That utility bills, like Sharon was talking about, is a big one with privatization of utility companies. And like you said, NIPSCO response. NIPSCO does cover part of our district, so we are seeing that. But a lot of the talk lately has been the flooding, too, because we're all concerned about data centers. And we're seeing the emergency response that we have, and it's not been where it should be, especially in parts of Hamilton County.
Well, and more to that, considering we have we keep hearing about this $4 billion surplus. This is what's really been striking me in the past week or so. $4 billion surplus all summer. That's what we've heard about. And now we're finding out there's only a $2 million disaster relief fund.
And then, Governor Braun got this FEMA emergency declaration. Great. We want the declaration. We want the resources that come with it. Will the gutted FEMA, after Elon Musk and his little Doge boys went through last spring, are they going to be able to deliver that relief that we need?
I'm not convinced that they will be. I know that Georgia is seeing those cuts as a result of everything going on with FEMA, and they're not getting their payouts. So I don't have any impression that Indiana is going to be seeing that money.
I completely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that.
So in many ways, that leaves us on our own. And we're engaging in mutual aid with our neighbors. Is your community directly affected?
Yeah, so since Saturday, I've been out every day working with the flood victims with Devin Wellington from my neighboring house district. And it's been phenomenal. One thing that we have been hearing a lot, though, is that the victims are sick of seeing politicians at the fairgrounds just hanging out and taking pictures. And so they have conversations with us like, well, why are you guys out here? And it's like, well, because we care. Mm-hmm. And we're actually here to do the work, not just switch out our sweater vest for a life jacket.
I saw a picture going around with State Senator Andrea Hundley. And she was quietly working in the background, not there posing for a picture. And I think that was more powerful and more impactful than, putting on a vest and handling a shovel and hamming it up for the camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe very much in servant leadership. That's a big part of my campaign is telling people that I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. In this case, we are very lucky in Fort Wayne. If it would have just been a little bit further north, Fort Wayne and Allen County would have been impacted. And I'm trying to continue, not just remind myself of that, but also my constituents that we got very lucky. And so we need to take care of our neighbors because at this point, no one's coming to help us.
And you got to prepare for the next one. Derek, go ahead.
I mean, that kind of goes with what you've been saying with your campaign is leading with empathy.
Yes.
I mostly know that because your interview came out on Hold 'em Accountable last night.
It sure did.
But yeah, I mean, I think it is great actually seeing you guys out there putting in the work rather than just being on TV going, oh, this is horrible. Our prayers go out. Well, you know what? Prayers don't fill sandbags.
Yep. Exactly.
One thing we've been reminding constituents of too is this is a Republican-led federal government, state government, and local government. So if they wanted to help, they would. They've had every opportunity, and this is where we're at.
They've had every opportunity, and they've left us a $2 million, I'm going to keep saying it, $2 million disaster relief fund when they've had a huge surplus and many years to build that disaster relief fund up.
And to put that in perspective, I want to say that one bridge that washed out in Carmel was going to cost $10 million to repair.
Not to mention the quarry and the loss of income that I'm sure the quarry is going to have in Carmel with being full of water now.
Very interesting dynamic there. Like that mishap saved some folks,
absolutely.
I think, downstream. But
we barely had any flooding in Martinsville because of that.
Yeah, when I was concerned about you when all that was happening, because I know where you lived, vaguely. That sounded really threatening.
Christy, don't worry.
So listen, I'm getting the wrap it up sign, but I do want to make sure to give both Sharon and Kirsten an opportunity to tell folks where they can be found online.
So you can find me at www.electsharonwhite. That is WIGHT.com or Facebook.com/electsharonwhite. Again, WIGHT.
You can find information about our campaign at rootforindiana.org. All of our socials is just root4IN.
All right. Thank you very much. The dynamic duo of Sharon White and Kirsten Root. Everybody, let's give them a big old hand. Thank you, ladies. It's so good to see you in person. I appreciate it. All right. Let's move this thing on right along. And I do believe we've got Jessica Bailey for State Comptroller is going to be joining us here. Jessica, welcome on in.
Thank you.
So, listen, we were supposed to have a little get-together. You were going to be on the podcast about, 10, 11 days ago.
That is correct.
And that you are up there in Porter County. You are right at ground zero for that, where that derecho, that weather event went through. Do you have power at home yet?
I had power as of last Sunday, so I went 6 days without it. I will take that compared to having a tree in my living room or the flooding that's happening in central Indiana. So I just missed a couple pieces of siding and no power, but it could be worse.
Glad to have you back up. And some of your neighbors there in Lake County are still really suffering, though, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. They still have no power. Their entire infrastructure is crumbled with roads and power lines and trees all over the place. I mean, it's just horrendous up there.
So, and hopefully we'll get a chance to reschedule and get you back on the podcast for a full hour. But, one of the things I wanted to ask you about on that show, and maybe we could talk about it a little bit now, what the heck does the comptroller do?
That is a great question. And quite honestly, the question of the day. The comptroller used to be called the state auditor. And then they changed that about 3 years ago. Just had some bad marketing when they did it because a lot of people still don't know. And on the ballot, you will see state comptroller and state auditor in parentheses. So it's not even a full switch over yet. It's a little confusing sometimes. But the functions of the comptroller are to pay the state employees and to pay the vendors and then also work with the deferred compensation. So the bookkeeping of the state a lot. And then the comptroller also runs what's called the transparency portal, which is a very neat location on the website that you can go and you can type in the names of the state official or the government employee, find out where their office is located and how much money they're making and all kinds of things like that, as well as state contracts.
We know that the government under Republican supermajority control for much of the last 20 years has engaged in shenanigans, to say the least, maybe some shady, underhanded, perhaps even corrupt behavior. How much of that can the comptroller's office get at, or is some of that stuff siloed in the various state offices?
Both. So the state comptroller also sits on the Board of Finance, which is where entities will come and they will get additional funds in their budget or transfer within their budget, things like that. And currently it's a 3-member board. And currently, these meetings are having some shady-ish behavior where normally at the local level you would have to go and request this in a public meeting and there would be questions asked and all the things at the local level, like why did you not budget high enough, where did your funds go, what did you spend this money on already, why am I giving you more? On the state level, that doesn't seem to be happening. All of these meetings are 3 minutes long. You can watch the entire year's worth on YouTube in about a half an hour. So if you're having trouble sleeping one night, that's a good thing to do. But there's no questions. There's no discussion, nothing like that. So wherever that's happening is not upfront for the voters to be able to see. That would be something that I could change, not necessarily the vote, because it is a 3-member board, but I could ask the questions. The same questions that we're being asked at a local level, I think the state level needs to lead by example.
And also just like for the transparency, I think a lot of Hoosiers maybe don't know where to go, don't know where to look if they have questions like these. And a lot of it might just be like publicizing this, like, hey, this is what your state government is doing with your money.
Absolutely. And currently, if you want to watch the Board of Finance meeting, you can do that in person. It is located in Indianapolis at 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's a little difficult for everyday working individuals to be able to attend the meeting. So they do offer it on YouTube. However, there's nothing to watch. It's just transfer this to this. Usually they don't even use the full name of the fund, just some numbers. And approved, motion to adjourn. That's it.
Wow. Now, what about the IEDC? I know that has been a fount of corruption, and it sort of operates as a large slush fund for Republicans to funnel contracts and development deals to their donors. Let's face it. But so much of that is protected by NDAs. Can the comptroller's office see into any of that?
After the fact, where the funds have been released to go, that's what the comptroller does, is after the contracts are approved at their entity level, then the comptroller would then push those funds out. So it would be more of a soapbox, letting taxpayers know, hey, the comptroller's office just paid this amount of money to this entity. Just wanted to let everyone know. It's not necessarily the approval of the contracts. However, you can find that contract on the transparency portal.
But, hey, look at this is valuable.
Exactly. Yes, it gives you a heads up so that you know what to look for.
I want to talk a little bit about your last position. You served 2 terms as county clerk up there in Porter County, correct?
Yes, I am in my 8th year currently as county clerk.
So, President Trump has been attacking our elections, saying they're not secure, they're being hacked, China is interfering in our elections. You are responsible for election administration. Can you speak to the security of our elections here in this country, in this state, in your county in particular?
So in Indiana specifically, we have 4 different voting systems that we're allowed to choose from as the county clerk and the election board. None of them are allowed to be connected to the internet, with the exception of the e-poll book, and that has to have a separate connection. So each e-poll book has to have its own MiFi device providing the internet. You can't, if you're polling locations at a school or at a government building, you cannot tap into their internet. You have to use your own specific Wi-Fi, and it's only for the individual poll book to be connected. None of our machines, none of our tabulators, they're not connected to the internet. And it would be very difficult to hack into Indiana elections when there are 92 counties all running elections in 92 different ways. You would have to know the intricacies of every single voting system and how they're coded. Some, like Porter County, codes our election in-house. Others go to their vendors to code elections. So you have to figure out who's doing what to even, it would just be very difficult because nothing is on the same timeline. People code elections in different timelines. People distribute their polling machines out to the locations at different timelines. Again, 92 counties doing things 92 different ways.
Yeah, I understand. So, and you know, there's some folks out on the left that are also concerned about these things. They're like, oh, in 2024, Elon Musk and Starlink hacked into the machine. Is that even possible?
Not in the state of Indiana. I mean, all of our e-poll books are networked together. So even if you're voting as an early vote option, the second you sign into that e-poll book, it tells all the other e-poll books this person has voted. So you can't even go to the next polling location and say, hey, I want to cast another ballot, because the ballot won't come up for you.
And the e-poll books are not in any way connected to the voting machines themselves?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Nope, total separate. The only thing it's connected to is possibly a printer.
And there's like no way to like access the network and then get in like in a backdoor sort of way.
No, because each e-poll book has its own separate device. So you have to know the code. It's password protected, so you have to know the code to get into it of every single e-poll book that's deployed.
All right. I think that makes sense to me. So, Jessica, and again, I hope to delve into this a little bit more down the road. Maybe we can spend a full hour together and catch up where we would have last week. But until then, some closing words for folks. What is like your pitch to people who maybe don't understand why it's so important to have a Democrat in the comptroller's office? And then don't forget to tell people where they can find you.
Yes, of course. So it would be important to have change in the comptroller's office, because the state is looking for accountability and for transparency, and that's just not currently happening. And when you have a supermajority on top of all the state legislative officers and elected offices, all controlled by the same party, you're kind of playing with your friends all the time. And adding in diversity would make it so that people feel comfortable asking those questions amongst each other instead of just rubbing each other's backs. And if you're interested in learning more about my platform or about my race for comptroller, you can go to www.baileyforindiana.com.
All right. Very good. Jessica Bailey for State Comptroller. Everybody, let's give her a big hand.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. So we are going to have a couple more visitors joining us here. We got another dynamic duo. Yeah. And Derek, maybe do you want to? All right. Here we're going to get cozy here with Mary Allen running for Congress down in the 8th district, which is a vast swath of the southwest portion of the state. And then also, hey, there's with us, I recognize Tiffany Arthur because I was on her podcast a little while back. We also hosted a debate down there for House District 63 in what are your counties again?
I am Davies, DuBois, Martin, and Pike.
Yeah, Mike Braun territory.
Mike Braun and Mark Messmer, hometown.
The dynamic duo. So,
Sure.
Mary, let's talk about Messmer. I believe he just stepped in it. Using some federal franking funds for campaigning, which is if it's not
official government business. Come on, official government communication.
If not illegal, unethical, certainly.
Very much. Yes, there is a line. It technically legal, maybe. But what was authorized doesn't mean it's appropriate. Just because it's legal doesn't make it ethical. Absolutely. It mimicked his campaign ad from a couple years ago. And it clearly tooting his own horn, as he says, literally, reaching out to voters, which is a campaign ad. But he used our tax dollars for it. Yeah.
Not exactly on the up and up, if you ask me.
No. Especially at a time where I think public trust in our elected officials is an all-time low. This just feeds into that narrative. You're exploiting those gray areas, and it's awful. It's egregious, really, especially when you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in your coffers. Like, use your campaign funds.
Right? That's what it's for. I guess, Adam tells me I've only got the two of you for like 5 to 7 minutes combined. So I guess I want to make sure. Yeah, no, I could talk to both of you for like all afternoon, but I want to make sure we get everybody gets a chance.
Well, and it's fun to be here together because we work together a lot. So we knock doors together. We're out on the campaign trail together. It is really fun. There's a lot of cross-candidate, cross-county collaboration that is happening in the 8th District, and it's really exciting. Woo! Go 8!
And your district is massive, so you get a chance to work with a lot of folks.
Yes, I know it is. It is. Yes, that is the most exciting part of it all, and there are amazing quality candidates up and down the ballot. 21 counties.
That's crazy. I for one am a big fan of like expanding the House. I think that is something that we should do so we can have smaller districts where our representatives can actually like go out and meet folks and don't have to travel a corner of the state to do it.
I agree, but until then, like that's what makes you need to be more intentional about getting out and connecting with your constituents, and we are not seeing that at all from a congressional level, from a state house level. But you're right, and I think that is a conversation to be had. And I think though before that we need to rein in and have some more accountability and have some more safeguards in place, so then we just have more corrupt people working the system as far as campaign finance and those types of things. So I think let's shore that up first and then let's open it up.
It is certainly a potential Pandora's box there. Yeah. Tiffany, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your district. What are the folks telling you? What are their concerns?
The big concerns whenever I'm knocking doors are definitely affordability. That is a big one in our area. Affordability. We have always the Mid-States Corridor, which is a big thing in DuBois and Martin counties and Davies. And then we're having a lot of concerns with just
Mesmer and Braun.
Definitely push. And then data centers, of course, right now are a big concern. So, but really affordability, public school funding, just really all of the things that 95% of us are all really concerned about. And honestly, we all really agree on.
Can you tell us about the Mid-States Corridor a little bit? I don't think a lot of people in other parts of the state know what that's about.
So the Mid-States Corridor is a new train interstate superhighway project that Mark Mesmer and Mike Braun are really excited about, that is going to cost taxpayers at least $3 billion. That is without any of the acquisition of homes or land. It's going to go through some pretty
initial costs for that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. No grade level changes. It will be J turns, which are essentially fancy U-turns through Amish country. I can't imagine what a horse and buggy will look like on a J turn. But so that's all to save maybe 7 minutes from Jasper to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Who has a trucking company in Jasper, Indiana? So
it will really benefit some key businesses in that area, and that's really about it. It's because if you're local, it will actually cost you more time.
It will add time to your
commute. Through roads, you might have to go around places, and then 231, that is left then to the municipality, and the counties to maintain. Well, they're struggling to maintain it now.
Yeah.
And
we've canceled all of these road projects. We don't have funding for all of these things. We're going to have to turn our interstates into toll roads. So you know what we should do? We should build another one.
Yeah. and that is the thing. So other state legislators, even outside of this area, are getting involved because they're seeing the NDOT cancel over 300 projects statewide, saying we don't have the funding, but yet we're going to put through this $1 billion road.
Well, yeah. So not only that, do folks in your area not want this thing to go through their land, but also other parts of the state, they're going to be shortchanged in order to pay for it. And, it turns out a lot of infrastructure was just damaged in the last couple of weeks.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
And not to mention that a cost for this road that locals don't want, that 80% of these locals don't want. There's been multiple polling on it. They're going to pass that cost on to the locals. So not only are we going to take your ground and we're going to force this through, we're also going to make you help pay for it.
There's a percentage that cities and the towns are going to have to pay for, and they don't have that in their budget.
Especially with the passing of Senate Enrolled Act 1.
Yeah. So much of everything that we talk about, it comes back to Senate Bill or Senate Enroll Act 1 from 2025, the property tax bill. The downstream effects from that are really just beginning to show up, and so many communities are suffering from it.
Yeah. And so much like so many other things, this is not a problem that we really need to be focusing. It's not a problem. So there are real problems that we need to be focusing on and finding real solutions that impact people's everyday life and improve their quality of life. But instead, these are the things that
Vanity projects aren't what we need
Yeah.
to be working on.
that's right.
Well, we reflecting
State level or
pools
federal
and
level.
ballrooms and
Little
helipads.
statues, helipads in
Helipads
Jasper.
in
Yeah.
Jasper.
So, yeah, Adam told me I only had 5 to 7 minutes or so combined with both of you. And as such, I want to give both of you a chance to tell folks where they can find you and help out with your campaign, either financially or through their volunteer work. And Mary, let's start with you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yes, so we are on social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, all the things. I'm trying to get a little better at TikTok. Not on there as much. I need some help with that. I'll show my age. But they can please find us on social media, help spread and share the message. That's how it gets out. MaryAllenForCongress.com is our website. You can click Get Connected and you can sign up to Phone Bank, to Canvas. We are really building coalitions in every county. We've got amazing, dedicated, wonderful volunteers who are taking up the mantle in their counties to knock doors and make phone calls. That is statistically proven to be the best way to get out the vote. And talking to people one-on-one is also how we come up against this propaganda and say, no, we know this candidate. And so gathering groups of people to help spread the words, share the message, and meet people where they are.
All right. Very good. Thanks, Mary. How about you, Tiffany?
Thank you.
You can find me at www.tiffanyarthur.com. It is Tiffany, Tiffanie, not with a Y. And you can find me same on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. I have 2 whole TikToks now on my campaign. Working on that. But same thing. On the website, you can sign up to volunteer, to donate. We are also doing a lot of canvassing, working with Mary's campaign too. If we are out, we are putting Mary's information out because that's how we're going to reach as many people as possible.
That's right. And we are like 73 days out of
Yeah.
election.
It's
Don't remind me,
coming up.
please.
It's coming up fast.
And I want to
Every
give
day I wake up in a
Tiffany
panic.
shout out too, because not only is she a candidate, she is amazing county chair, and she is making things happen. They just did a ribbon cutting on a Democrat headquarters on Main Street in Washington, Indiana.
Yeah.
So
Hell
she's
yeah.
making things happen over there.
All right. We got Mary Allen here. We got Tiffany Arthur here. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Guys.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it. Yes, absolutely. Well, and hey, Mary's going to be with us. We got a virtual town hall coming up in October, I want to say. Yes. That'll be a lot of fun. All right. Adam, are you going to jump in here yourself? Listen, Adam has been our wingman from this, making a lot of stuff happen behind the scenes. Adam Dickey is the chair of the 9th Congressional District Democratic Party here in the southern and southeastern part of the state. Adam, thank you, number one, for getting us here. I know you had a lot to do with getting us on the porch here today, and I really appreciate that.
Big opportunity. Run through a lot of candidates, a lot of folks who are making it count, if you will. We're happy about that. IDA is always a special time and a special opportunity for our party.
You just came out of a state central committee meeting, right, this morning? Is that right?
That's right.
Any news out of that you can share with us?
Well, obviously, that's a business meeting for our party. And one of the big things that we did there, among other things, was have a discussion about our GOTV plan. The chair has put together with her team, has put together a plan, and we're looking to implement that across the state to obviously help out district parties, local parties, and to really up what our turnout has been. From the past. We know we've got to perform. We've got great candidates all the way from the top of the ticket all the way down, and we just want to make sure that we provide them the support that they need to be successful.
We've seen in race after race after race since the start of the second Trump administration that Democrats are wildly overperforming in special elections. Then last year in November, states like Virginia and New Jersey held state legislative elections there, and Democrats vastly overperformed. I want to say we're running somewhere like 12 to 13 points ahead of where we did in 2024. But,
That's
listen, come November, that is no guarantee. We can't take that
Can't take
for
anything
granted.
for granted.
But we certainly have a lot of opportunities to pick up in places where maybe we didn't think we did in the past.
Yeah, and I think that reflects that energy that's out there. I think that on our side of the aisle, there's more energy and enthusiasm. There's genuine concern about what we see happening with our politics. Whether you're looking at the national level or even some of the response to the flooding that's recently happened. Those are things that I think are driving folks to come out and maybe reevaluate where they're at. What is important to you? And in a midterm election, I think another thing that's critical is the fact that we are talking more about those down ballot races and giving those candidates more exposure to be seen and be heard. And that's an opportunity for us too, because I think we have a stellar group all the way up and down, again, the ballot. And we can have a conversation about what does it look like to be a commissioner in a county. Down by my way in New Albany, we've got Ellen Kelly running for county commissioner, Floyd County, and she's kind of been standing up against an incumbent who has been essentially working to dismantle recycling, has been working to do other things, playing monopoly with buildings, and that. I should say the financial stuff alone. The county audit a year ago indicated there's some discrepancy of $45 million between the auditor's office and the treasurer's office. I don't know about you, but that's real dollars, right? And it may all be accounting problems, but these are things that need to be fixed, and they've been going on for far too long. So we've got great candidates up and down that ballot in this election that are getting exposure, and I think they're going to do quite well.
And so much about you talk about it at the county level where $100,000 is a ton of money. And that really goes a long way, and we've seen so much misappropriation. Oh boy, I mean, you're the Democratic chair in the Ninth Party, the former Republican chair in the Ninth.
Yeah, my counterpart.
Jamie Noel, who also very much tied into the state Republican infrastructure in his own way there, misappropriated a ton of money, very much
I want to say the total was 3.4 million or something at least that was one accounting of it.
And he's currently serving some time
how many cars do you need? I mean, let's just say when you start getting up to a couple hundred cars, that's not a personal garage anymore. That sounds more like a museum or a collection. So
give Jay Leno a run for his money.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But so we've seen so much of that, and Republican supermajority at the state level here for 20 years. We've got a lot of that in the little communities of the little counties. These folks have gone unchallenged for far too long. Here in Indiana, I want to say Democrats are running in 24 out of 25 of the state Senate seats this year.
That's right.
97 of the state House seats, something like that. Record for that we haven't seen in 50
Not
years.
since
some of these,
the 70s, yeah.
And good candidates at the county level in many places, but we still have a bit of a bench problem here at the lower levels. How do we fill in some of that?
And I think we've got a session on that actually later on today. One of the things about IDA is that it is a opportunity for us to kind of do a little think tanking, to do a little training, networking, and part of that on our agenda was to discuss recruiting, because we want to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to recruit candidates. It's hard in some of these places in the state to be a Democrat, and you look at those historic election results, and maybe a candidate hasn't received more than 25-30% of the vote in previous elections. A person that you're trying to reach out to and get recruited to run for office says, well, why do I want to do this? Well, in order for us to have a functioning democracy, we have to have that competition. And, we maybe have to have conversations and say, okay, what do you need to get to yes? What do you need to make that decision? What can we do to support you? How can we help you in this endeavor? And those conversations are critical. And I think at that session, you'll hear a little bit about some of our great, it's being led by some of our great chairs in the state who have done this. And they'll talk a little bit about what needs to, what you can do to help, how you can go about recruiting, having a committee, for example, a recruitment retention committee that helps with this. It's not just the county chair. It's not just one or two people that do this job. It has to be part of a larger organized party effort. And together, I think we get there. I've told my county chairs for a long time, if you've got someone who wants to run for township trustee and they need to hear from a higher leader, a district chair, a state chair, heck, they need to hear from another candidate at the state level, like Jessica, I'll set that call up. I'll make sure that we have that conversation so that they know, hey, this is not just an isolated thing. You're out there all by yourself.
And we've got some really good county chairs in the 9th, especially some younger women who are really out there crushing it. Big fan. I love Victoria Martson Ripley. I love Christina Person in Franklin. My own county chair, Chrissy Gales in Monroe.
Chrissy's good.
So good. I love what they're doing out there. And Adam, what else do the folks in Indiana's 9th and throughout the state need to know? What do we need to be doing here as we come up on 70 plus days here before the election?
Well, I think one of the big things that everybody needs to remember is there is a role that everyone can play in this election. Whether you are someone who is 20 years old who wants to get out there and go door to door with a candidate like Mary Allen, or you are someone who is in your 70s, 80s, maybe even 90 years old. You can't go door to door maybe anymore because that's just physically too much. But heck, you might be able to make a mean batch of cookies and help supply those volunteers at headquarters. You might be able to make some phone calls. Maybe it's only 10 or 20 a day, but that's 10 or 20 more attempts that our party has made to outreach to someone to let them know that these candidates are out there. Brad Meyer is running for Congress, that Nick Marshall is running for state Senate, that Ethan Sweetland May is running for state Senate. All of these candidates, again, up and down the ballot. I'll get it right here in a minute. I wanted to say up and down the alley. But we'll make sure that we plug you in and find a place and find a row. And it's pretty exciting actually, because again, you see that reflected here today at IDEA and with the activities, not just the trainings, but tonight we've got a packed house for the Lee H. Hamilton dinner. And we're going to have someone that you're going to talk to in a few minutes, Harry Dunn, former Capitol police officer, speak to us, in addition to honoring former state party chair Robin Winston.
Very good. So, Adam, I guess, I've given all our candidates here an opportunity to tell folks where they can be found online. Pitch yourself or pitch where folks can find you or how they can get involved down in the 9th.
Well, I always say it depends on what hat I'm wearing. But for today, we'll settle with the district. And we have our district party website, 9thdistrictdems.org. You can always find us there. Got our contact information there as well, for mail and phones. If someone's interested in getting involved, they can go there and we'll plug them into their county party. So again, my personal email that they can also reach me at is chair@in09dems.org.
All right, very good. Adam Dickey, chair of the 9th District
Democratic
Party. A real mensch, and also very well done on the segue. A professional. I think he set us up very nicely for our next guest here.
He might not fit in camera.
We're going to make it work.
Joining us now, Harry Dunn, former Capitol Police officer, just a tree of a man. Dude, you are huge.
Big oak tree. Yeah, that's right.
You always see Trump on stage at these rallies now. He's got like football players and stuff around. I mean, like a tree trunk.
Projection, right? That's what he does.
Listen, not using it as a pejorative because we love the community, but it's a little bit gay.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And he's showing what type of person he really is. Like, he has to be surrounded by somebody because he feels inferior himself.
So listen, number one, thank you for coming out to Indiana, giving this keynote tonight. We really appreciate it. I'm glad to have you here. And so, you were at the Capitol on January 6th. And, as somebody who's had difficult days in their life, I know I don't like to talk about them. You've go out and talk about January 6th, it had to have been a very traumatic day. Like, you're a big dude. You don't look like you scare easily. But that's got to be a difficult thing, a traumatizing thing to have to go out there and keep talking about.
Well, the thing is, I don't have to do it. I'm making a conscious decision to do it. I'm making a choice to do it. And also, like, I have to acknowledge everybody has trauma. I don't live in this world where we have trauma Olympics, if you will. It's not like, oh, my trauma was worse than yours. Like, all right, one bad day for anybody is too many. So let's that's one of the stances I've taken. Strong mental health stance, awareness, compassion, empathy. No matter what we're going through, you're going through something, but just happens that my trauma was seen by the whole world and continues to be marginalized, whitewashed, even though the entire country saw it, the entire world saw what happened, but yet we still have a group of individuals trying to minimize what happened, rewrite what happened, and frankly, tell you what you saw didn't happen.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, what you make of this revisionary history that we're getting. First thing Trump did when he came into office the second time is he pardons all those insurrectionists who were at the Capitol, who tried to prevent the certification of the 2020 election, who tried to prevent the peaceful transfer of power for the first time in our nation's history. You were there. You experienced it. You saw it. What do you make of this revisionism?
Well, yeah, so I'm not going to get too much of my way because I'm going to talk a lot about it this evening, and I'm really excited to do so. Thank you for the opportunity. Indiana is great. This is my first time in Indiana, by the way.
You caught a nice day. It's often a lot muggier than this in August.
I feel like I got lucky with the weather, and it's just a beautiful day. And also just this location that we're sitting in right now. But with regards to that's why I'm still talking. I don't bring up January 6th, right? I respond to it, and I show up when they try to minimize it and just do away with it. I won't be quiet about that. Now, I'm not just out here still crying, woe is me. I don't. I just want the truth history to accurately reflect what happened that day, no matter how hard and consistent and persistent this administration has been. And also, not just this administration, but supporters of this administration saying, hey, that wasn't a red line for us, and we still support him even though he did that. That's always going to be a red line for me and my litmus test. Where do you stand about what happened on January 6th? And I don't care if we align on any other issues, wherever you said that's my litmus test. The hell with you.
So, I mentioned the pardons, and as far as I understand things, those people can't be retried. They're scot-free. They've gotten away with it, essentially. But we saw a little bit of this at the January 6th committee hearings. They started to connect the dots. I mean, all roads pointed to Trump himself, and how he incited that insurrection. But what about some of the other folks who funded it, who organized it? Those folks didn't show up organically. There were buses. How do we connect all those dots back to the entire network of folks around January 6th, and what does justice look like for them when we take our government back?
Fantastic question, and I'm a tap dance around it because I'm gonna speak to that this evening. But one of the things that I am very proud about, that made me happy, was with Jack Smith, with the prosecutions, and when he dismissed the charges against Trump, he did so with the ability to refile them. Now, a lot of times, and when you have these dismissals and everything, they'll be like, "Oh, you can never try me again." Now, that may be true. Now, honestly, Donald Trump's going to pardon himself, like no question about it. Like, nobody here believes that Donald Trump is going to leave office without granting him writing himself the biggest check and giving himself the biggest blanket to cover himself. Nobody believes that he won't do that. But there's still an opportunity for people who may have not had their day in court yet, who may have not been exposed yet. Jack Smith, so I had the opportunity to meet him. I had the opportunity to talk with him, and a lot of people that worked on his team and his associates. And he's just a man that believes in the rule of law. Like, nobody probably even knows what political party he belongs to. And honestly, I believe our civil servants That's what they should be. They should be. You shouldn't be out there partisan. You shouldn't be. And now, good if you do, but I don't care if you believe DEI is a good thing. I don't care if you believe. Did you break the law? Yes or no? And if you did, you need to be held accountable. Period. No explaining. Well, I gave $20 to this camp. Who cares? You broke the law. And we need to stop justifying people's conduct based on their political affiliations. And it seems like that's what's going on in this administration. So I tap dance around that. Like I said, what is accountability? What is justice? And what all that stuff look like? There's an opportunity, at least legal mechanisms, for accountability to still be served.
Very good. Do we know if and Adam had to take off, if tonight's keynote is going to be recorded and the general public's going to be able to watch it, but maybe that's something you could tell me. We'll find out by the end of the show. But because not everybody that's watching us now is going to be able to be in the room tonight, but I bet they'd like to hear what you have to say.
I will tell you this. If by some chance not, let's connect and I will answer that question for the masses, for the people that aren't able to, if it's not. So how about that?
We would love that. That'd be amazing.
Let's do that.
So listen, you're out here. You've been talking about this and justice for our country, and bringing back the rule of law, novel concept. But you also ran for office yourself a couple times there in Maryland. Yeah. Came a little bit short, and a lot of that there was some outside money poured into that. Can you talk about sort of the pernicious effects of big money in politics?
I was listening to the previous segment, and it was good because it sounds like one thing in Maryland where I ran, I had 24 opponents. I came in third in a race of 24 people. So when you talk about a depth problem or a bench problem, or like where do you find the quality candidates or amount of people? I kind of wish that a lot of people wouldn't run. Whereas where y'all having the opposite here, y'all are like, we need people to run, right? And then you look around the country and you see a person like Lauren Boebert. How does that moron get elected? Mm-hmm. And you got a person like myself, somebody like me. It's like, Jesus Christ, I've lost elections twice, and this bozo gets. I hate her, by the way, and a lot of other people
can't tell
that are right, or other people that are just getting elected over and over. And like, you have good people that are just sitting there like, damn, how can I help? I just want to be helpful. So running for office and outside money, by the way, special interests suck. And let's just talk about not the issue. Let's just talk about special interest groups being able to buy elections, because I believe that's a threat on our democracy as it is. Special interest groups being able to buy elections. Now, everybody that knows me and people that got to know me over there, I'm a big bourbon fan. I love bourbon, and it's my thing. But if the bourbon industry came up to say, hey, we're going to pour $200 million into your campaign, respectfully, no. And as much as I love you, absolutely not. I don't care what your special interests are. The interests I care about are the people of my community, the people of the district that I was running to represent. That's what matters to me. And then if our values align down the road, then sure, let's talk. But you're not going to be able to be in my pocket, if you will, like a lot of these special interest groups are. So that's not just about electing Democrats I'm a big Democrat. I'm always pro-Democrat. And it's not just about electing Democrats. It's about electing the right Democrats that put people above corporations.
Derek.
As a combat vet myself, I've been through some crap. Yeah. And January
Thank you for your service.
No problem. January 6th is just as bad. Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I my life has changed. But like when I ran for office, I didn't want to. It wasn't a choice that I made. It was a calling. And you, as somebody who served and people that know that actually do things for the right reason, a lot of the decisions we make aren't about us. Mm-hmm. It's about doing what's right. It's about doing what we feel we have to do. So it's hard to believe that it's been over 5.5 years since that. And it's still fresh in my mind, mainly because we haven't got accountability for it. But I don't know another way to do what I'm doing. I have days where it absolutely sucks. It absolutely sucks. But this is kind of cathartic a little bit. sitting with people that actually want to hear about it, want to talk to you, and are just more pissed off than I am. You know, I got people that grab me and they shaking me around, and I'm so pissed. I'm like, whoa. Like, if I was there, I would have cracked some skulls. And I'm like, all right, well, thank you. They're more pissed off than me, and it's kind of cathartic. And it's refreshing, especially in a world where some people are denying what we even went through.
So, Officer Dunn, I really appreciate you being here with us today. Thank you so much again for spending some time with us here on the porch. Thank you for coming here to Indiana, giving this talk tonight. We really appreciate it. I've given everybody else an opportunity as they're running for something to sort of, talk about their campaign. Shamelessly promote yourself.
Well, I'm not running for anything, but I do. But I do a Substack that I run. I do blogs, I do videos, and that's called Standing Our Ground. You can find that on Substack. I do a podcast called Clean Up on Aisle 45 with my friend Allison Gill, which is known as Muller, She Wrote. We do our podcast weekly where we try to clean up this mess of this Justice Department, but also just I'm just showing up where I'm needed. I don't have a plan. I don't have a roadmap. I don't know. I'm here in Indiana now, and I didn't plan on being here 3 weeks ago, right? It was just like, here I am. Like, somebody asked me yesterday, so what brings you out here? Like, how'd they get you? They asked, and I showed up. And that's what we need to do. When people ask, if you really are serious about doing something, show up. Do what you can do. And that's what I'll always do. I'll do whatever I can.
All right. Well, we really appreciate it. Once again, Officer Harry Dunn
Thanks,
with us.
Guys. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, guys. Thanks, y'all.
All right. That was Officer Harry Dunn. Let's see now. Joining us, we got some very large shoes to fill.
Oh, my God.
All right. Introduce yourself to the good folks out there at home.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chad Wyszynski. I am the chair of the Allen County Democratic Party, along with the chair of the 3rd Congressional District.
So we got Adam Dickey, the chair of the 9th District here, Chad Wyszynski, the chair of the 3rd. So tell us what's going on in the 3rd right now. That's the area sort of anchored by Fort Wayne, for the folks who don't know. Talk about the dynamic of your district and what does Get Out the Vote look like? You also would have come from that same state central committee meeting that Adam was just in.
Yeah. So no, I mean it's an interesting district, right? You have Fort Wayne, very urban, and then you have all these rural counties surrounding it, right? And so I think what happens is people say, well, we're just Fort Wayne centered. But what we know is that we don't win unless those rural counties turn out the vote, and we don't give them if we have to give them the resources to win, right? So, I grew up in Woodburn, Indiana. We did not have a stoplight. All right. So I know what it's like to grow up in rural Indiana as a Democrat. So when I'm traveling around, I'm saying listen, I might be the Allen County chair, but U12 counties are very much the top of my list on the priorities. So we try to push as many resources, as much training into those areas as possible, because we know that congressional candidates like Kelly Thompson have a better shot of winning when rural Democrats turn out to vote.
And we're going to be talking to Kelly. We got a virtual town hall lined up with her in October as well. We just talked about that with Mary Allen.
I wasn't trying to plug that or anything.
Listen, that's my job to make sure I sell us a little bit. I always forget I'm a terrible capitalist. But so I guess I want to talk about that sort of rural-urban dynamic a little bit. What's the population breakdown like Fort Wayne versus the rest of the district?
Yeah, so I would say I think there's 432,000 people in the 3rd district. 260,000 of them are in Allen County.
Okay, so that's more than half.
Yeah.
But to your point, you got to go out there and get some of the other folks. Now, I guess what's the worth of turning out Democrats in the rural communities? Obviously, we want to do that. What about also discouraging Republicans from coming out? I mean, a lot of it, I think, you're seeing more enthusiasm on our side.
Without a doubt.
You're seeing a lot of a lack of enthusiasm, I think, on the Republican side. Folks are disillusioned with what they voted for. It turns out, what President Trump promised is what he's delivering, and it's not great.
Yeah. So I mean, what's interesting is Kelly Thompson has been going to events around the third over the last year, right? And a year ago, she would go to events and people would be like, Republicans especially, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to listen to you, I don't even want to get to know about you. Now she's showing up at events in like places like Bern or Layado, right? Like very small areas and whatnot where people are like, I would like your lit card. I want to hear about you as a candidate. And that's because they were seeing, as energy prices go up, as the cost of living goes up, like there are no answers coming from the other side. And so like the Republican enthusiasm has cratered in some of these areas. We've had some Republican elected officials go, I can't wait to vote against Marlin Stutzman.
Marlin Stutzman, I'm glad you brought him up because I would have forgotten to, because this guy is among the worst little shameless weasels that the Indiana Republican caucus has sent to Congress, and that's saying a lot.
It really is, actually.
Like this guy's primary concern, it seems like the last couple of months, has been tweeting about the WNBA.
I mean, listen, if he's a season ticket holder, that's great for, WNBA, but I apologize that he's also a season ticket holder, should he be? Yeah. He firmly is a culture war person. He doesn't talk about substance. He doesn't talk about anything that voters actually care about. He famously has a memorandum of understanding with Israel to try to make our military and their military more integrated. He nominated Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. Like, he is a troll. But what we're also seeing is that he doesn't show up anywhere. We show up at events. We drive by Republican Party headquarters. There is no mention of Marlin Stutzman. There is no presence with Marlin Stutzman. He feels that his district is so safe, he has to do no voter outreach whatsoever.
Being a troll doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't cover the electricity. It doesn't make up for the rising food prices. It doesn't make up for the rising gas prices. I think, that is what people are concerned about on the day-to-day. And it sounds like from what you're saying, people are making that connection and tying it back to the Republicans, that this is their fault that this is happening.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and, it helps that you have inept people in state government like Governor Braun and Todd Rokita who continue to do stuff that is embarrassing to the party and to our state. And then you have people like Marlin Stutzman who just go along with whatever they feel like doing, right? You have Jim Banks enabling all of it. Like, people aren't seeing the Republicans even 20 years ago where they tried to show up themselves as intellectual giants in the party. They're just merely here in order to get ahead, to get a buck, to line up the next adventure, right? Like, we have grifters at the top of the Republican Party. We don't have people trying to make this state any better. And so Marlin Stutzman is one of those people, and he has done a really good job. If you look at his net worth, when he left Congress in 2016, he was worth about like $1 million. He's worth $52 million now. Wow. I will not be worth $52 million when I'm not county chair anymore. Okay?
So I was told I've only got you for about 5 to 7 minutes, so I should probably start wrapping up. But like, what do the folks in the third need from the rest of the state? What are the folks within your district? What can they do? What do you need from them? How can we turn this ship around here in Indiana, in our country?
I mean, I think oftentimes we as a party say we're going to focus on places like the Marions, the Lakes, the St. Joseph County. No offense to anybody in St. Joseph County or Lake or Marion, but like, there are 92 counties in this state who are in desperate need of training and resources and guidance. And we are seeing just in a lot of places a lack of that stuff being put forward. And then, like, let's face it, being a county party chair is about as lonely as a job as you will ever get, right? And so you have a lot of burnout, right? And so I think we need to find a better way to start bringing up that next generation to kind of fill those talent gaps, but also finding ways to support people who are in party leadership so that they want to stick around. Because when you have strong party leadership, when you have continuity, that helps with candidate recruitment, fundraising, like all the other stuff, right? And instead of being like 92 counties, we need a one state strategy.
All right. Chad Wierzbinski, chair of the 3rd District Democrats here in Indiana. Thanks so much for joining us here. Give Chad a hand. All right. So listen, here at Special Treat now, a friend of the pod, somebody we've had the pleasure of getting a chance to talk to several times, but we get a chance to hang out in person here for a couple minutes. Let's welcome Nick Marshall. Nick Marshall is candidate for state senate there down in the fighting 45th. Nick, good to see you in person, my man.
Oh, we always on the screen together with each other.
Yeah, just neck up,
neck
right?
up, yeah.
But, yeah.
How do you like the fit?
It's good, man. That's good, man. You're looking fly.
All right, cool. I'll take it.
So, we talked again a little over a week ago. Again, what is time? I have a hard time keeping track of them all. And you are running against the man who thinks he's going to be the next president pro tem of the Senate, but I think we're going to send him back to the countertop business here after November.
That is correct. And as I've been telling the people of District 45 as well as the state of Indiana, they're already lining up and making plans without you. When we have Hoosiers in the district who are worried about their Medicaid is going to be cut, they're worried about how they're going to pay the next bill. They are worried about what exactly is going to happen next, and they're afraid. And you should not be afraid of your state legislator. Your state legislator should reach out to you and solve issues and make sure they're championing what's going on in your community. And since we've talked, I've been to 2 county council meetings. I've been to meet with the teachers. I just took a phone call while I was in French Lick, but something going on with our veterans in Clark County about the property tax issue, about a $600 credit that individual could not get, but they had to go to Marion County to get it solved. They should be fixing that issue in district. Not if it's our veterans, they should get every single thing they deserve because they served our country. And I'm going to find out what exactly is going wrong. And I'm going to make some phone calls in the next 2 weeks. It's going to make sure that we get answers for this individual, that the veterans get the $600 credit or property tax they need by December.
If I've learned any one thing talking to you, you are always out there. You are doing the work. You are putting in the effort in your community at all points. And it does seem like it all comes back to, as we're talking about all these issues, is the property tax bill from 2025 and the way it has really gutted many of our communities, especially some of these small towns.
Yes, and it has. And so I was at that county council meeting. Everybody walked out of that county council meeting mad. And I was like, but you know what I did? I pulled them off to the side and talked to them. It was a volunteer firefighter and a firefighter in the district, and they're trying to get equipment that's going to be replaced. And they said, we got a 27-year-old fire truck that needs to be replaced. And now that's your safety in danger. And they can't get funding due to SB1 of 2025. And now that's issues in our district about a fire truck not showing up to your house when it's on fire. And then we have next thing came out, another group came out mad. We can't get money for the youth detention center. And these are individuals that have young adults who have made decisions, some charged with adult offenses, some not. But they can't get the proper money to get someone to help feed those kids. And they need to be, shown dignity and respect and a second chance because some of them have lower offenses and some need that education and that stability. But they can't get money from the county because the state has tied their hands.
Man, it is rough out there, and it just goes to show what 20 plus years of supermajority rule here in Indiana has given us. They're really they've hung us out to dry. If there's one thing that government should be for, it should be to marshal our resources to make things better for us. They're not doing that,
and that is correct. A lot of people feel hung out to dry. From the vouchers getting cut with daycare to Senate Bill 1 to Medicaid cuts, you name it, it's happened. So what am I doing? Even though I'm not elected, I'm still working for the people to make sure that they get the answers they deserve. And there should be someone at the State House doing that for you. And so I'm going to spend these next 2 weeks, and I promised Miss Barbara that I talked on the phone, that I'm going to find out what's going on, and I'm going to make some phone calls. And that's what you're supposed to do, is find out, answer, and get solutions for and make sure that everybody gets served. That is our job. I mean, when I'm in November, that'll be my job. But that is the job. And so even last night, after we wrapped up things here, it was 12:22 in the morning. You know what I was doing? Signing postcards to make a connection with them, to send out to the people of the district, to let them know I'm still thinking about them and what they're going through, because I know what it's like being a kid in foster care. The want to need and the somebody provide that for you, and to be a success story and showing what the state can actually do and create a success story too as well. That is your hard-earned tax dollars going forward, and that's what we have to do, is make sure that your tax dollars has a return on investment.
Absolutely, Derek.
Mm-hmm.
know what I think is awesome that you guys are doing right now is you're actually doing the job. You haven't been elected to do it yet, but you're actually doing the job. One big question I have, and I think everybody wants to know, what's your thoughts on Santa Claus?
Santa Claus. My thoughts on Santa Claus. Santa Claus is safe. He had a nice relaxing vacation this July. I met up with him. He is good. But we know what happened on the day of Christmas in 2025. I literally was opening up my gifts with my kids. We got done. They got done quick at 9 o'clock, 9:30. And a ding goes off on my phone. And I said, this is a joke. And then I realized it's real. And I had to alert my county chair and the district chair what exactly was going on. And so with that, I said, leave it alone. It's Christmas, you know, and this is a time for people to come together. They've worked hard all year to put a gift underneath the table, underneath the tree, to make sure that everything is needed, that Christmas dinner. And so my thoughts on Santa is like, hey, this is a time to bring people together and joy. And I think Christmas is the right time to make things not make things go wrong. So my stance on Santa, I'm very pro Santa. Me and Santa actually met in Charlestown, and he gave me his endorsement. We handed out food to the city of Charlestown in a food drive next to the library, and he showed me what the community was doing. I already knew it was doing, but I was there. I showed up, and you're right. We're doing the job. And so even though people fall through the cracks, sometimes they need someone who's going to pick up the pieces for them. And that's what we have to do, not only as a city, county, and a district, but also as a state and as a nation. And so how do we lift people up who are falling through the cracks and then make sure they're successful and they make sure that they can do anything in their mind in this great nation?
Fantastic. Nick, I've only got you for these couple minutes. So where can the folks who are watching here find out more about you and your campaign?
Yeah. So I just want to say now is the time for you to invest into this campaign, because we can really shake up the state house and stop this redistricting effort, get Medicaid working for you, make sure that we open up more daycares, and also we tackle the property tax issues correctly. Don't get rid of them, because that's defunding the police. So what you can do is go to HoosiersForNickMarshall.com. You can sign up to volunteer to do postcards. You can donate to this campaign because we need postage to pay for those postcards. But this is the real work and the real groundwork, because now is the time to change. Now is the time to be brave, because like I said, I've been hearing people say they're afraid. So don't be afraid. Stand up, speak out, and then turn out for November.
Very good, folks. The indefatigable Nick Marshall. Thank you very much, sir. Good to see you. All right, let's see. My master list here tells me I have the lovely Ed Bowen joining us here on the couch on the veranda at French Lick. So Ed, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Your lovely wife, yes, is running for State House District 69.
Yes, she is.
But you are also running for office.
Yes, Jackson County Council, District 2. And it's very grassroots, low budget. But I got 4 main issues I'm running on, and that's on budgeting, because of the way the state has cut our budgeting that we have. Local control, because there's several bills at the state level that would take local control away from us. Again, no data centers without having a proper public input on it. And then my main thing I'm hitting on is the flock cameras. Okay, and that is something that has got a lot of traction with the people in it. And the reason I do it is because, okay, you're a veteran, so you took the oath, defend the Constitution. I say it's all enemies, foreign and domestic. Okay, so did I. And that, I believe, is a Fourth Amendment violation, okay? Because it's not, and a lot of people say, well, you're on a public road and it's public information, that's fine and stuff like that. But there is one, a mobile home park inside of Seymour that's a new ownership, has been fixed up. And in the past month, 7 flock cameras have gone inside that mobile home park.
7?
And, yes, and that is predominantly Latino neighborhood. Okay, so I have got prepared, which I'll deliver next week, Freedom of Information Act request on that to the city Seymour Police Department about that. So, but there's people who think that flock cameras, oh well, you're on a public road, it's public, you don't have any expectation of privacy. Supreme Court has ruled that just to get cell data, location data from a cell phone company, you need a signed judicial warrant to get that. And there's no difference between that and a flock camera. But the other part of it is that when you take the flock camera data and you can start getting indicators of behavior data on people. Okay. I'm a software engineer for the past 30 years, a defense contractor, and I've developed systems to get data to create connections between different people in different locations based upon that. And it's no difference. When a flock camera, I can go through and tell where you're going to, your behaviors. I can tell about what time you go to Starbucks every morning. I can tell what time that you go to your AA meetings. I can and since this is public data, there is a court case going through the state of Washington about where this public data is open to Freedom of Information Act that it's in an appeals court right now. So, but that's in the West Coast, so I have to wait for nationwide. But that is something that if it became public, then what keeps your auto insurance company from tracking your vehicle and change your auto rates on that? What takes your life insurance company looking at that and saying, oh, well, you're doing risky behavior, so your life insurance rates go up? Okay. It's not the government's business what we do in our private lives. Okay. That's why we're private citizens. It is our business what the government's doing because they are public servants. And so they need to turn this around instead of locking the door and letting us what they're doing. They need to keep their nose out of what we're doing.
And that's very much tied into the data center thing, right? You know,
Yes, it is.
you've got these flock cameras, and they need massive amounts. You know, they collect massive amounts of data.
Yes, they do.
They feed these things into AI to do things
Yes.
like you're doing, build profiles on people. That
Yes.
data can get packaged up and resold and whatnot.
Right.
And on all of these things, the flock cameras, the data centers,
Yes.
the local control. These things cut across party lines. Democrats, Republicans, independents. I think everybody values privacy. They value local control.
Right. Yes. And when you look at the what they call the speed limit cameras, okay, those are very much done in Europe, but in the legislature, I believe it's 2025, because the Libertarian branch of the Republican Party was really against them, but they came out with a pilot program. They have speed trap cameras in construction zones. They can only have 4 in operation across the state at any one time. Okay. And it has to be, can only be used when there's actually workers there, and can only issue a ticket or warning if you're 11 miles per hour above this posted speed limit construction. But that's the only thing the state has done on it, is that they are very limited, but they have not come across whether it's whether they're happy with want to allow it or not to go full across the state. I feel that if you're going to have a flock camera, something like that, and you want to search for someone, you got to have a judicial warrant. You got a probable cause. You got to have a case that's actually being investigated, and you got to have a judge to sign off on it. Now, there are extenuating circumstances for doing a search-based probable cause without a warrant because of timing and stuff like that. But that's already been established in law for doing a search warrant without a warrant, doing a search without a warrant based upon specific extenuating circumstances. But flock cameras, when you're searching on those, that should be the exact same way it is for any other search. That's what the Fourth Amendment is for, is to protect us for it. Okay, because it's not their business.
I 100% agree with you there. So I know I've only got you for a couple minutes here, so I want to make sure you get a chance to tell folks where they can find out more about your campaign, how they can donate, how they can volunteer, how they can get a pen. You seem to have enough.
Okay, well, okay, I am on Facebook at Edward Bowen for Jackson County Council. Okay, I'm trying to keep this. Instead of donations, I want people to show up at the city council meetings, at the county council meetings, at the county commission meetings, and let your voice be heard. Okay, because example, they just passed the council passed the wheel tax. Their meetings are in the mornings on the weekday, which is hard for people to show up. They did not have one person speak out against it. But if you look in the comments online for the Seymour Tribune, a lot of people were upset about it, but they did not have, not one person spoke about it. Okay, but they also have to realize that the wheel tax is something that the state legislature put them in a position of forcing them to put into effect. Okay, and some people don't realize that. But I want people to show up. I want people to get involved. And on my pins, this is what I wear. This is actually for my wife's campaign, no data centers, but both Bowen, we had the same last name. Okay, I got another one, Bishop Bunn, which if you remember, 2025 when they had the service after inauguration, she told the president about having empathy.
Yes.
Okay. She's Episcopalian. I'm an Episcopalian. Okay. So that it's close to me. And if you ever read what our presiding bishop had written about it, about what our church needs to do as far as in support of our country, it is to get back to our roots of what the original founders wanted to have, which is not what we're getting right now. So you have to get involved. You just can't sit on the sidelines and be a keyboard warrior. You have to actually show up and do stuff to do it.
Tom Hartman always says that democracy is not a spectator sport. You have to participate. You have to get in there and get active and do something.
And one thing I will put a plug out is that in Jackson County, we are looking for candidates. We're looking for precinct chairs. So we're going to start getting out, get more public. And I will start asking, recruiting people to try to run for office, because right now I'm the only countywide candidate. We got 3 township candidates. I'm the only countywide candidate. My wife's running for District 69, and so we are very thin in Jackson County as far as candidates. But we want to try to get that filled up and get more people. Give more choice. You shouldn't just have to go out there and say, okay, well, why should I vote Democrat? There's only like 4 people on there. Okay, that makes it too easy to just hit the R button. You got to go through and make a choice.
And that really affects the primary time as well.
Yes. Because if you don't, I know. Well, our county, we had no one running for sheriff. There was 4 candidates for sheriff in Jackson County. If they wanted any input on the sheriff, they had to pull a Republican ticket, primary ticket. Okay, and that's the way it's been for years. That's why you can't really look at primary ticket pool in Jackson County, because you have non-competitive races in the general election. You're only competitive in the primaries. If you want to have a choice, when they have input, you have to vote and pull a particular primary ticket on that.
All right. Well, Ed Bowen, thank you so much for joining us here on the porch. We appreciate it. Everybody, give it up for Edward Bowen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, okay. All right. I thought I had Michelle next on my list, but Ethan can come in too. We're going to have one of our favorite folks here, Ethan Sweetland May, joining us momentarily. Derek, how you doing over there?
Ethan is simply the best person in the world.
And you know what? I think I have my in with him, because we talked a little bit. Ethan, good seeing you again. The fantastic. Do I have you on there? Just making sure. Hey, there we are. Now we're on.
You're having me on.
Yes,
You're having me on.
Ethan Sweetland May is with us, and I've had the pleasure of having Ethan on the Sunday show a couple times with us. I've got an hour-long sit-down with you coming up at the end of September, but we've got a couple minutes here with you now, and I actually want to dive into something, because Ed was just talking about it and how his faith inspires how he runs for office, how he brings empathy to serving his community. You were homeschooled. You were raised in a very conservative Christian household, right. And this has very much become a sort of issue in our politics lately. And you speak that language better than I think most folks I've come across here in Indiana.
I mean, it's because it really matters to me. I actually went to ministry school. There was a significant portion of my life where I thought ministry was my calling, and ultimately that turned out not to be the case. But yeah, I find it like our current moment is not, from my perspective. I am a nerd for church history, and what we are dealing with right now with the rise of Christian nationalism is not new. It is not new, and in fact, our founders, the reason why so many Europeans fled Europe was because they were fleeing centuries of Christians slaughtering Christians over disagreements, over doctrine, over belief. Christians oppressing other faiths over disagreements. Like we have seen the impact of successful, highly organized states that are led by the church, that have a dominant, this is the right way to believe. And it's hell. It's hell for people who are in public service, because if you step out of line with the church, well, then also you're not just damned, you're going to get killed, you're going to get thrown in jail. And we've seen it with people from other faiths who have to live in these places. It oppressed the Jewish communities, it oppressed Muslims, it oppressed anybody who was not the right confessing belief. And so whenever I see our lieutenant governor getting up there and hawking his wares, insisting that this is the way to save our state and save our country, I call bullshit. And so does history. It's not, we don't have to wonder if this works or not. We've seen exactly what this does every time it's implemented. And our founders, the reason they put that clause in the First Amendment that said, we're not going to establish any religion in this country, it's because we've seen what it does. It hurts people. It's ruinous for governments. It's super corrupt immediately. And I suppose that all sits pretty well with Micah Beckwith.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up because I was going to go there anyway. You know, I think just recently he gave a sermon at his church where he talked about how important it was that Christians learn how to hate in the right way.
Yeah.
Just what Jesus said, right?
Right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Whoever doesn't hate the least of these as I do is no follower of mine, as Jesus famously said. No. I mean, this is part of why this whole bent to try to sow faith into the state, into the arena of the state, into the arena of politics. I believe that my faith obviously forms me as a person. It has informed a lot of how I think, a lot of how I approach the world. But the moment you step into the arena of, this is not about me and my faith, this is about us. This is about our place. This is about a community of diverse people who believe different things. I mean, heck, like remember the country lost its mind when JFK got elected because they thought the Pope was going to control the United States. Like, I mean, we celebrate the Little Italy Festival. I grew up in Terre Haute, Indiana, and just north of us in Clinton, they have the Little Italy Festival every year. Little Italy Festival, great. You know, flags, Italian heritage, it's wonderful. I didn't realize that in Indiana 100 years ago, Italians were persecuted because they were Catholic and they were immigrant scum and they were a threat to white Protestant America. And we had the Klan riding through here literally about 100 years ago saying that this is the danger to our state. These people, they're not like us. They believe differently than us. They're going to come for our state and our government, and they're going to take away our heritage and culture. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and and you mentioned the Italians, and they were persecuted because they were Catholic 100 years ago with the Klan of the 1920s. The Irish too. A lot of folks don't know that the Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish.
It's where it comes from.
It's not a slur about like drunken bar fights.
No.
They literally fought the Klan in the streets of South Bend.
That's right. That's right. They as I remember the story, the Klan did a march in South Bend. The students of Notre Dame turned out. Clash in the streets, the Klan retreated to their headquarters, and the students went and took tubs of potatoes from the local stores and pelted the building with potatoes on purpose, ironically. I'm like, that's the attitude we need in Indiana today.
I'm not saying if you see Michael Beckwith, you should throw a potato at him. But if you got one handy.
That's like, just like toss it to yourself. Just like see if he gets the reference.
Mike, a hot potato. Yeah. So, Ethan, it's always a great time to talk to you, and I look forward to our time when we get to do this for a full hour at the end of next month. But for right now, I want to make sure you get an opportunity to sell your wares, as it were.
Sell my wares. Well, thank you, Scott and Derek. Obviously, I am running in State Senate District 47, which is the southeast corner of the state, right across from Louisville and on the Ohio River. It is Floyd, Harrison, and Washington counties. New Albany, Corydon, our old capital. They will never let you forget that it was the old capital. And Salem. And it's 130,000 people who need a leader and need a representative who's going to work on their behalf. I mean, we've got fledgling unions in MPP in Campbellsburg that won their union 2 years ago, and they had to fight it to the National Labor Board over a year. And then for over a year now, they've been locked in negotiations with Mill Point Capital that bought that business years ago, and they keep getting shit offers. It's 1% raise, 1 year contract. For a year, they've been stuck in negotiations, and they reach out to the representatives and they reach out to our governor, and they get nothing from the state. They get no support. They get no feedback. Everywhere I go in my district, people are being squeezed. People are being hurt. Paychecks are not keeping up. And it's the continuation of a cycle we've seen where our leadership breaks our communities on purpose. They undercut healthcare on purpose. They undercut basic worker protections on purpose. And then they use it as justification to do more of the same. They use it to say, well, yeah, worker protections don't really protect workers, so we'll take them away more. Oh, healthcare doesn't really pay the basics, so we'll take it away more. Oh, public schools are failing and they're not providing what we want them to, so we'll take the funding away more. This is a system that our leaders have created on purpose to break things so they can continue to privatize them and hand them to their donor buddies. Give the charter schools $1 public buildings. Force public schools to share 100% of their operating budgets with for-profit charter schools. And it's time for it to stop. It's time for us to get people in the state house who are actually going to work on behalf of our neighbors. And by God, that's what I'm going to do.
Love it. Ethan Sweetland May, folks, give him a big hand.
Thanks, Ethan. Good to see you. Yeah.
All right. Hey, who we got here? We got somebody sliding in who I don't know. Come on in.
I'm Cindy Clayton.
Welcome, Cindy.
Hi.
Cindy, introduce yourself to the good folks at home.
Okay, I'm Cindy Clayton, and I'm running for State Senate District 49, which is Evansville and Posey County.
Very good. So you are down there in the toe of the boot.
We are very much in the toe of the boot. So as far south and west as you can go and still be in Indiana, to the Illinois side, and then on the Kentucky side as well.
Very good. So I guess tell us a little bit more about sort of the dynamic of the district. Is it, if I recall, looking at the map, it's been a while, 49, does that like cut right through half of Evansville?
Yeah, pretty much.
So this is a classic cracking gerrymander.
Yeah, and it's important to me. I grew up in the Terre Haute area, and I'm very much a rural girl at heart, and so I'm actually someone who can manage the dichotomy of the rural needs along with the inner city needs. And the district changed a little bit after 2021, after the census, when it's supposed to change, and now there's more of inner city Evansville than there used to be. So I think in terms of how that goes, it's pretty even. Of 83,000 voters, and 17,000 of them are in Posey County. Some of them are in the suburbs, I guess you would say, of Evansville, but I have quite a few inner city neighborhoods.
One of the things I think we've seen cut across that the rural urban divide is the data center issue.
Yeah.
I know, and I don't know if there's any down there in your area, but we've seen rural communities like Monrovia. They got this big Google data centers trying to build there, and then we've seen in Indianapolis the same thing. They're putting these things up in historically black neighborhoods, and the thing that cuts across both lines is folks who typically don't have as much political power. They sort of view them as easy targets.
Yeah, so it's actually in Posey County is fighting off a data center right now, and I'm proud to be with the people and be part of the resistance, if you will. Posey County is an area of environmental concern already, and so I like to say in my shorthand, Posey County has suffered enough. They have enough polluters there that they should not have to house a data center. Also, Posey County has a 3.3% unemployment rate, and with full employment being around 4 to 5%. So it's not urgent that Posey County has 15 more employees. And we've seen the data center companies, they, give scraps to local labor, and they bring in their own crews to do the most of it by saying it's specialized work. So I have been working with folks in Posey County. I just have to say how cool it is. When we get together on Monday nights, all the people who come in are, we're all from different political stripes and religious stripes, but that doesn't matter because we're all on the same mission. So it's really bringing people together, ironically, to hate the right 1% people, which is the billionaires. And I find that the data center billionaires are trying to take advantage of rural folks. They're making the wrong assumption that rural people they don't know what they're talking about, that they'll just take it. They won't rise up. And I got bad news for them because we are united. We are well researched, and folks are really giving of themselves in Posey County. And so I'm proud to stand with them, the residents of Posey County, against a data center construction. Now, Evansville is where those disadvantaged populations are, is so densely populated that there's not a threat of a data center there simply because there's no space. But there is still a threat to farmland in Vanderburgh County as you get out in it further. That's a little less urgent right now because they're taking their time a little bit more.
And we've seen this for decades now. Yeah, sure, it's data centers now, but it was the equipment manufacturers, and still is to an extent. The seed companies consolidating. Capital has definitely exploited rural areas for a long time, and yet those areas have voted Republican for the last couple decades. How do we, I guess, flip that on its head? You know, the rural areas were the base of the Democratic Party for a long time until, oh boy, you know, things started to shift with like the religious right in the 1970s.
Yeah. So I think really we all have so much in common. And I'm seeing this play out in real time in Posey County. They had to move the county council, well, not the county, the area plan commission meeting out to the 4-H center because so many people were showing up. They couldn't house us all. People stood out in record heat outside. And so they had to move out. And I pulled into the parking lot at a meeting on Tuesday of this last week. And there was a truck that said, you know, Trump 2024, and then no data centers. And then next to it was a car that said Mary Allen for Congress, no data centers. And if that wasn't a picture of where folks are now, and I think if we set aside the talking points that try to divide us, we have everything in common as hey, we want our voices heard. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, I'm proud of is in my campaign, we're only taking individual donations. And like because I'm third generation coal miners, I did take from the UMWA and I'm an associate member and I'm proud to do that. But by only having private donations, I'm free to really be for the people. I don't have any obligation to anyone else. And I like it that way because this is why I'm getting into this. I have a job at USI. I teach at USI, and this would be a service stop for me, not a career. And so that means that I'm going to ruffle some feathers that need ruffling.
And and you know, you said that individual donations, and you answer to your community and to your constituents and not to your donors, and that's the way it should be, right?
Yes, and I won't have it any other way because, you know, that it complicates the matter. And I'm just, when the people have spoken, they do not want a data center, and for good reasons in Posey County, and that's final. Like, I don't understand why we're still having a conversation because when the people speak, the elected should listen.
All right, Derek.
I think one thing that a lot of people are still trying to wrap their mind around, simply not left versus right.
Yeah.
Top versus bottom.
Right.
Very much so. And you only taking the small donor, you're showing that you're representing the bottom.
Yeah.
And thank you for that.
Yeah. I am a stubborn person. I have been through a lot and I've been in a lot of different shoes. So I've lived a lot of lives in my 50 years. And so I am feisty, I am sharp, and I am stubborn. And I will use that for good and not evil for the people and do so with pride. I have served, we have a children's advocacy center in Evansville called Holly's House, and I have served them for 11 years and seeing what good I've been able to do in the community has been, it really is what spurred this on, because I'm like, oh my gosh, for totally free, I was able to do all this good in the community with whatever talents that I've been blessed with. I got to take this to Indy and you know, advocate for folks on a bigger scale.
So because you represent the bottom, because you're working for your constituents and not for the donors, you need some help, I imagine, in the form of those small dollar donations and in terms of volunteers. So where can folks learn more about how to do that?
Yeah. So it's Cindy for Senate, CINDI. Thanks, Mom. For Senate.com. And there's a webpage there that gives you options to donate. A reoccurring small donation can really help. I've got volunteers out knocking doors. So if you are in the Evansville area, and even if you're not, we have phone banking. And really, I just think getting people to turn out is the key. So if you are in the Evansville area and you have friends and family, call 5 people that in your circle and say, hey, have you seen this Cindy person? She seems a little crazy, but maybe she's got a point. So that would really help me out a lot.
All right, very good. Everybody
Thank
give it up for
you.
Cindy Clayton, running for Senate down there in District 49. Thank you so much. All right, at this time, let us welcome to the couch our friend Trent Deckard is coming in from my home county of Monroe County. Hey. Trent, welcome.
Thank you.
We don't get it. We're right there.
I know.
And we don't get a chance to do this.
We had to come away from home to hang out on this couch, and that's awesome.
It's a neutral site game. So you are running for county commissioner.
Yes.
In Monroe County, and our dynamic there is very much different than I think it is in a lot of the state. We are one of those safe blue counties, and so our internal dynamic is very much like the Democrats argue with each other, and you don't much hear from the Republicans.
Yeah. In fact, for the most part, the Republican Party fielded no candidates for the fall, which I think is an absolute disservice to the discussion that we need to have, the problems we need to navigate, all the things that we need to do. They literally took a knee on it, and it will make serving as commissioner much harder for me because we're not out there. I came out of a very rigorous primary, and it was the healthiest thing for our system. My opponent, David Henry, and I, over there,
David's just sitting right there.
Literally.
Trent was just hanging out with him right next to him before he hopped on.
And it made us stronger, as David and I both have said, that we had that discussion. We should have had that for the fall, but they took a knee so that they could be more obsessed with state and federal and other kind of mischief.
Well, that culture war slop does not fly by us.
That's right.
But we still have our internal debates very much, and I like one of the things that has kind of dragged on. We're going on 20 years of it now at this point, is we're under a lawsuit from the ACLU about the conditions of our jail, and we're still fighting over it. I understand. What's going on with that?
Yeah. So we're at a kind of an impasse point where the current commissioners have kind of expressed their intentions, where they want that to go and how they want that to be. The current council has said, no, we've had a sea of changing circumstances due to, again, the state literally cutting our legs out from under us about 2 to 3 years in a row. And so the council said, we've got to dial back and figure out how we do this with constitutional care for everybody, dignity for the lives involved, and also something that the taxpayers can reasonably afford in this season of change. My hope is that with new commissioners in this position, we can move not only on this issue, but all these other reasonable issues that we've got to be at that table, setting an example for good government. We are in a different situation in Monroe County in that we are the majority party. But majority party doesn't mean just legislative fiat rule. It means that literally you marshal resources together to say, how do we get this done? I talk about a community of care that can if we do it right, it can set an example for the rest of other communities on what they might do. But right now, frankly, it's embarrassing. And we're walking around with a lot of egg on our face for not getting things done.
And also because, listen, Bloomington relatively we good governance in Monroe County for the most part. We argue over these things, and we've got these sort of impasse around the jail. But listen, for the most part, Democrats in Monroe County doing a heck of a good job, and a lot of places in the state should take notes. But as such, because it is a well-run place, a desirable place with a lot of culture, it's it's a desirable place to live, and with that comes increased housing prices. It's very unaffordable to live everywhere right now, but in Monroe County especially. And we have a bit of a NIMBY problem. It seems like people don't want more dense development near them. They want to sort of keep the rural character of certain places, and I get that. But also people need places to live. How do we balance that?
Well, I think it's being common sense about what we're doing. We've said about a generation back politically that we're just not going to be for any discussion, let alone development. And I think that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. The reality is that we have created in Monroe County, which is supposed to be this bastion or if you want to be here, welcome here and all that, we've created a country club. And I know about country clubs because I was a waiter at a couple country clubs. And if you're in one, you've arrived. But if you're not in one, you got to get on a list, you got to get approved for other people, and you got to buy in. A community cannot be a country club. A community has to be a place where if you're starting a business, you're starting your life, you can reasonably say, there's my house. And people in the county have heard me say this numerous times. If I were starting in Monroe County in the house that as part of a 9-generation family that I bought in 2007, I couldn't afford it. That is sad that we have an elected official. I've got a decent day job as a faculty member at the university. If I can't do that, that tells me that prior generations, like my dad coming out of the RCA factory that's not there, or his dad who worked in the quarries and literally built the community, they would never have a hope for that. And it tells me my daughters won't. So that's got to change. And that means, to get to the kind of the gist of it, it means that the county has to ask the questions about what is missing from our planning processes, what is missing from our building processes, getting started processes that put people in starter homes like we used to. 20 years ago, we were doing this, and then we stopped, and it's got to go.
All right, fantastic. So I want to go ahead and get at least another couple people in here before we got to wrap up. So where can folks learn more about Trent Deckard and his campaign for county commissioner in Monroe County?
Absolutely. You can check me out at trentdeckard.com. Look for my community care and all the other things I've not talked about. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm a frequent poster, and I also do 2 Minutes with Trent. Sometimes they're a little hokey, but I'm a little hokey, and I like to have a little fun with it.
Yeah, listen, everybody enjoys a good dad joke now and then. Right?
That's me.
All right. Trent Deckard, thanks for coming by. Everybody give it up for Trent Deckard. Now, I know on my master list here, somebody gave me Michelle Higgs before I close out, and I definitely want to make sure I get Michelle in here before we have to wrap up.
The one.
Michelle
the
Higgs is the founder of Indiana Rural Summit, best damn organizer in the state, and also just one of my favorite people in the world.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'm glad to be here.
So, Michelle, you ran for State House District 60 2 years ago, and now, in many ways, you are running for multiple State House seats at once.
Yeah, I didn't actually get a break. No, I took what I experienced and channeled that into, I'll be honest, like an inner rage of just there's no infrastructure. There's very little support for candidates that are running in these really difficult districts. And what I realized was that we were all siloed and trying to do everything ourselves. And so I made a few phone calls to other candidates and said, hey, let's do something different. And we kind of laughingly talked about a band tour. And so in 2024, we actually traveled together and did events, and we organized 12 House candidates across 30 Southern Indiana counties, and then moved forward into 2025, recruited some more people, word kind of got around, and now we have 67 candidates across the entire state, representing 89% of Indiana. And we're just every day getting more people. And it really is one of those things of, if you are brave enough to file to run and willing to give every rural and small town Hoosier a voice, a choice, and a vote, then you are part of the Indiana Rural Summit.
Well, so much of it is, you mentioned that where we've been under-resourced in the state. The national level DNC doesn't have any use for us. They write us off. Oh, Indiana's not competitive, and therefore, like, the state doesn't necessarily have resources so that they can share around. And so when folks do decide they want to get involved, they're very much having to invent the wheel themselves. And what you're doing there is saying, hey, look, we have a wheel. So you can sort of hit the ground running when you decide you want to run as a candidate in these rural districts that have been neglected for far too long.
That, and then also we are really exploring what does it look like to be as a collective, where you have more buying power in the sense of if a group of candidates comes together and they want to put on an event in their area, then it's not just one campaign holding the whole thing. It's multiple candidates, multiple campaigns, multiple county parties partnering in. And so that's what we're exploring and really experimenting with what does it look like when we can bring in experienced people to train. And it's the trolley, I think. But it's like when we're bringing in training for people, when we're bringing in, I don't know, just going to events even like this together, you show up and there's suddenly a whole family essentially. And I know we talk about the Democratic Party as a family, and I think it's maybe better like a big tent reunion where you don't quite know all your cousins and whatever. But I can say with
How
the
are we
rural
related again?
How are
Yeah.
we related, right? But with the rural summit candidates, because so many of them are running in districts where it is difficult and it can feel very demoralizing. So we have a weekly phone call where and it's kind of like that standing meeting that if you want to jump on. And sometimes it could be a training, sometimes it's debriefing, sometimes it really is like a therapy session, and really getting everybody on the same focus. And we use the term Shelley Yoder said of tush push, like we're linking arms together. And the thing that we're most excited about is our power packs. And our power packs are where we've identified anchor races. So these are races that are pretty much considered the flippable seat, right? We hear about the swing state, right? So the flippable seat. And then we find what is geographically around them for our candidates. Or we find, because we have all of the Senate races contested, except for one, we look for that Senate race. And then we're like, who are the House races underneath them? And then that collective group goes. And where that is most powerful is those House candidates can carry the material, the literature, not only for their race, but for the Senate race, for the top of ticket. And then if there are local electeds as well, they're in relationship with those counties and they most likely know those people running. So we look at our House candidates as incredibly powerful vehicles for communication and messaging in their districts.
This is, if I understand right, sort of a modified version of the strategy that has been run to success in Virginia. If you recall, in Virginia, this was a red state, the very conservative, right? The heart of the Confederacy back in the day, right? And yet now Virginia is largely regarded as safe blue, and that did not happen overnight. That happened with organizing like this, and you could sort of bring that on over here to Indiana and build something that way.
Well, and you mentioned Virginia. We actually looked at the Virginia Grassroots Coalition as our roadmap, really, because we were watching and just curious to see if their theory of change, which was if you can turn out and you run everywhere and you turn out, you're going to actually boost voter turnout for up ballot, right? So even if in a rural district that candidate may not win, but they're going to increase turnout 2 points, 5 points, whatever, that's going to add to delivering voters up ballot. And so we thought, well, we'll see how their elections go, and then that's going to tell us if this is the model that we want to try. And sure enough, they were very successful. And so we said, okay, game on, let's try it. And so we don't know yet for 2026, but the beautiful thing about having candidates everywhere is that they are closest to hearing what's directly impacting them. We have candidates, obviously, that are fighting the data centers because not only do they live in those districts, but they're actively door knocking and talking and hearing. And again, the heart of so many people in rural is that their voices have not mattered. And time again, especially in political spaces, oftentimes those candidates are not as valuable in the ecosystem. And what we're saying is we're just going to change the ecosystem, and we're creating what we call a mycelium network.
I was going to ask you about the mycelium network, and what sounds like you got nodes out here and nodes out here, and they're all taking the information, kind of feed it back into the central node, and it could be all just correlated and dispersed out, and everybody's learning from each other and can find out what works here, does that work there, and everybody's in communication with everybody else, and very much explain where the mycelium network comes from.
I always think about it like how mushrooms are in particular, because the beautiful thing, I love this fly. The beautiful thing about the mushroom is that you don't see it. And you kind of think like, oh, here's a lush green grass or whatever, or trees or whatnot. And then the next morning you go out and it is covered in mushrooms. And if somebody were thinking, well, when did somebody plant mushrooms? What happened? No, it has always been there on the ground, right? And then when the conditions are right, when things are all of a sudden up they come. We talk a lot about sunflowers, and the sunflower is our symbol, and part of that is because it is very plentiful in Indiana, and you see them and they're beautiful. But it really is this idea of something that follows the sun, follows the light. We talk about candidates do so much better when they give a vision of what they want for Indiana than when they're railing against what present conditions are, right? And I think where we're starved for is imagination, that it can be better, that when we get all of our candidates elected, like, oh my gosh, what can we actually do with that? I even talk with local candidates and go, I don't care what your role is. What are the levers of power that you have authority to change? If you can let us know that, then we can champion you to pull that lever. But we just don't know. The lack of civic education oftentimes don't know what the different roles are. So going back to the sunflower metaphor, you oftentimes feel like you're out there just isolated, right? And we used a picture this morning in our breakout session where there's this lone sunflower storm in the background, and everything else is just like a green field with this one sunflower. But within a matter of days, that entire field is full of sunflowers. And so we have candidates right now that it kind of feels like they're a lone voice calling out into this wilderness, asking who is willing to follow this crazy vision that we have, that actually all Hoosiers can thrive, right? And we believe, in fact, we know that when people actually are in relationship, when they see the humanity of each other, it's like, they're like, I want to be part of something important. And what is important is fellow humanity.
Love it. Michelle, how can folks find out more about what you're doing there at the Rural Summit? Do you have a calendar? Are you going to be in various places as we head on toward November?
So this year, this election cycle, we really focused on building out all of the candidates, right? So that's been where that has happened. So our candidates are everywhere, and we invite people to follow them. But the two places that we are asking people to check out for the Rural Summit is obviously our website, which is indianaruralsummit.org. And then we have our data portal, and that you can find out who is in your power pack. We have 12 power packs that we are highlighting, which you can see if you live in their area, and then you can donate to each one of those power packs. And it actually is called a tandem fundraiser, meaning that whatever you donate gets split evenly between all of those candidates. And then you can also go on that data portal into a tab called My Pack. And in My Pack, you can enter your address, and you can see actually who all is in your area for like your counties, your congressional district, all of that. And I invite people to explore that. They can go data.indianaruralsummit.org. And so those two places.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
And people can totally email me too. Michelle@indianaruralsummit.org.
Excellent. Love it.
All right.
All right. Michelle Higgs, everybody, the best damn organizer in Indiana. Very good. So, we're well over time. They only budgeted us for 2 hours. I'll go all afternoon if you let me. Anybody else want to hop in here? Hey, there we go. Got the mic. Might as well use it while we're all hooked up.
Absolutely.
All right.
Hi.
Hey, let me change that graphic there. We are no longer with Indiana Rural Summit. Founder Michelle Higgs. Who are we with?
So I'm Brad Hoaxsong, and I'm running for the state senate in District 48, which is Crawford County. Perry County, Gibson County, Spencer County, Du Bois County, and Pike County. So it's a pretty big area.
That definitely sounds like a large district. Sort of overlaps. We had Mary Allen and Tiffany Arthur here earlier, so I bet you're seeing a lot of them.
Yeah, we're kind of all together, kind of working, the same areas, the same turf, and we've been helping each other out quite a bit through the campaign, and there's some great people.
So, I guess one of the things we talked about with them with the Mid States corridor and how that's sort of a gift to Mike Braun and his donors that they want to get there. I want to say I last saw a poll about this a few months ago, and Mike Braun himself, it's like 25% approval rating. Oh, he's down to 16.
Du Bois County,
yes, and then in that area specifically, even less. And the Mid-States Corridor project itself, I think, had an approval rating of like less than 10%. Nobody wants
it. Was 6% of the people strongly support it and 81% against. And just for full disclosure, I did commission that poll, and it was paid for by just ordinary citizens in Du Bois County in cooperation with the Property Rights Alliance. And it's kind of how I got started on this path.
So as a state Senate candidate with sounds like a very large area that you need to cover. How are you doing all that? I mean, I bet you're traveling a lot. Probably takes you away
I put quite
from
a
home.
few miles on my vehicle. We'll just say that. So it wouldn't be possible without the other surrounding parties and volunteers in other districts and the help of other candidates like Tiffany Arthur and Mary Allen and Lena Goffinet, and the support of local candidates and some just amazing people in the party and just average citizens who've come out and door knocked with us and gone into parades. And I mean, it takes a community, and it takes a big one for 6-county district.
I bet. So besides the Mid-States corridor, we've talked about that. We've talked about data centers, it seems like, with everybody, one of the big topics. And what else are folks talking about in your 6-county area there?
I mean, affordability is huge. Also, rural hospitals are getting hit from multiple angles right now. We had SB1, which is SCA1 right now, that cut $744 million from public education and left a $1.4 billion gap in the state's budget. And that right now is being phased in, and it's being rolled out, and we're pitting the citizenry against the local commissioners who have to somehow fill this gap. And they really only have two choices. They can raise income tax or they can cut services. And people want their hospitals. People want their schools, which are also public schools are being attacked right now, and their funding is being cut pretty much systematically. So when the state gives you a tax break, but doesn't actually take care of the bill, and then they hand it back to the local communities, that creates problems, especially in the rural areas.
So they want to say, they get to say, hey, we're giving you a tax break, we're cutting taxes, but then they kick the can down the road to your local, your county commissioners or your folks in the cities that have to deal with the massive hole in their budgets, and then they have to go to the people and ask for a tax increase.
Well, and we ask people, like, have you actually seen your property tax bill go down? And no one raises their hands because everybody's property taxes have gone up. And moreover, we have a lot of renters in the state. We have a lot of renters in my district. They get none of these breaks, but they have to pay for lack of services. And they also have to deal with potentially closing rural hospitals, schools that are becoming increasingly underfunded. So it's really not a great situation.
Are you telling me that landlords would get a tax break on their massive property holdings and then not pass that along to the renters?
Well, it's not just the land. I mean, businesses have gotten big breaks. I think this is all what it comes down to is, Indiana's open for business, but it's not really open for the average citizens.
I hear that again and again and again. All the candidates I talk to, that SCA 1. The property tax bill is hurting everybody except for those big businesses, especially not the small businesses, the big businesses who are Mike Braun and the Indiana Republicans donors.
Yeah, which it all comes back to that. I mean, we have the data center fight. And let's not forget, this actually ties into SB1 or SEA1. You've starved property tax from a county, and then they're approached by a giant corporation. And they're like, if you give me even more tax abatements, and if you don't charge me sales tax for my power, maybe I'll give you a little bit of a kickback in terms of your property tax and take away the quality of life for the people that live there.
So the state starves communities, then these data centers, again, who are also Republican donors, we know they are, they come in and say, you're starving, here are some crumbs. Would you like them?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much how it goes. And the data center fight, quality of life is extremely important. Community consent is extremely important. Representation is extremely important. But there's some dangers that nobody's even talking about. We've heard about the water usage issues. We've heard about the power bill issues. We know that they're going in on farmland. We know that a lot of them use on-site diesel generators. There's just all these issues that people know about. But something that I don't think very many people have talked about is we're really discussing 5 or 6 of the richest companies, the most powerful companies in the United States and in the world. And they're in a race right now to try to develop artificial general intelligence. And I like to tell people, because I'm a software engineer, I work with this stuff every day. It's like running a marathon where every step you take, you run faster and faster. And the first company who achieves this is very likely going to dominate the industry. So what happens to the 4 and 5 that don't win that race, who've got giant multi-million square foot, 1,000+ acres, hundreds of megawatts, approaching gigawatts for some of these, when they now either lose to a competitor and get shut down and have to be decommissioned, or how long has your last phone lasted, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long has your last computer lasted? How long is this technology that's powering these data centers going to actually stay relevant? And I mean, these are big questions about mitigation and opportunity cost, I think, that no one's discussing.
Yeah, you mentioned that. The next chip is always like twice as fast as the last one. So by the time these data centers get built and all the racks of servers go in there, they're already obsolete.
Well, and it's not just the speed. We're talking about the technology that drives them. There's something called CUDA cores, which is a very specific type of processor that's very, very good at this specific thing that's driving our current generation of AI. But there's nothing stopping someone with a smart enough computer from coming up with a more efficient way that just makes all this obsolete.
Oh, and we're seeing that with the Chinese are leaning into theirs being open source, and maybe they're not as good at the highest level, but if you can get 90% as good for less than half the price, I think a lot of people are going to make that decision. They're fine with that trade-off.
Well, and the people making the rules don't understand the technology. For example, and pardon the name, but there's a website called Hugging Face. And
Heard about this. Yeah.
If you're into AI, you've heard of these people. They're huge. And they actually got attacked by a rogue AI from OpenAI, and they didn't know where it was coming from. And OpenAI was unaware that this was happening. And they actually had to use Chinese models to defend themselves against American AI.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Listen, I for one welcome our AI overlords. Don't murder me. No, I'm kidding. But Brad, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks where they can find more about you, more about your campaign? How can they help out? How can they volunteer and donate?
Well, I am a web developer, so check out my website at bradh.org. You can find all my social media. I've got a store where you can check out the merch. I've got events. I've got links to articles. There's a ton on there.
All right. Fantastic. Brad Hoeksong, thank you much for joining us out here. Everybody give it up for Brad.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right. So I think, Derek, that's everybody. So, what we got? I'm sorry. Christine, get on in here.
Spoke too soon.
All right. Well, welcome. Introduce yourself to the good folks watching.
Hello. My name is Christine Craig. I am the vice chair for the Dearborn County Democrat Party. I am the lead coordinator for Southeast Indiana Indivisible. And I am the lead campaign person for Brad Meyer in Dearborn County. So, but I am here today to talk about the impact of these floods on some very small towns, very economically depressed towns in Franklin County. I work for a nonprofit in Franklin County, so I am very emotionally attached to that county and those towns.
We, obviously, as our state capital is the most populous city in the state, and the big media markets, Indianapolis, and the effects of the floods there and the surrounding communities has got a lot of attention. We're seeing national news looking at Gary now. They've been without power for going on 2 weeks, and those smaller communities in the eastern part of the state can easily get overlooked when this sort of thing is going on.
The two towns in Franklin County that have been intensely impacted are historic town Metamora, which is an old historic canal town, and Laurel, Indiana, which again is a historic town. These towns were both established back in like the late 1830s, so they have been around for, a couple hundred years almost. They're small towns. Metamora just finally, they've been fighting to get the support to get the money to save the canal itself, because it is the only still all wood canal and the gristmill and all of that. And that finally was all approved through the state after a couple years of battles. And then this flood hit. And the entire, 95% of the south side of the canal was affected. Oh, wow. We're talking 40 plus businesses, 40 plus residences. Surprisingly, and they didn't know this until just a couple days ago, on the north side of the canal that did not get flooded, the water table had risen. So people's basements and cellars were full of water, and everybody was so intensely paying attention to the houses that had 4, 8, 10 feet of water in them, that they weren't even paying attention to that. So now the buildings on the north side are full of mold because they did not, get that water out fast enough. In Laurel, it is a town of I think like 412 people. 120 homes were affected.
Oh my God.
And they're saying probably half of those homes are not going to be salvageable. And these are already people, they're a strong, prideful people. And they don't ask for help, but they desperately need it. And, you've got these people who, what are they going to do now? When 50 to 60 homes are gone. And then the homes that are still livable, people are living in them, but the black mold and all of the long-term health effects of what these people are having to live with right now, it's staggering and it's frightening. I am amazed, though, at the people in those two communities and the surrounding county who have really jumped in and have been doing all of the physical work to get things taken care of as quickly as possible.
You and I understand. I think I saw that like less than 1% of homes in Indiana are covered by flood insurance because, a lot of people don't know you have to purchase that separately. It's not a part of most policies. And so things like this, the insurance companies are going to say, hey, sorry, that one's not covered. So folks are, hate to use the pun, but left out to dry in that situation. Mm-hmm. And then also we're seeing our federal government is MIA.
Yes.
We get the declaration. Well, the declaration's great, but if there aren't resources that accompany that and can be marshaled to help with the relief and the recovery, then what good's a declaration?
Exactly. If it weren't for organizations like the United Cajun Navy and the Masters of Disaster, these are two big organizations that have come down and checked on Laurel and Metamora. Now the Cajun Navy has been spending all their time in Connorsville, which is in Fayette County, and it also has been decimated. But the Masters of Disaster have been very helpful in Metamora there. But, you know, they're not getting help. I mean, Laurel's yearly annual budget for that town is $130,000.
Wow.
That's it. And, you know, and now they have none of these places have flooded in anyone's recent memory. So, and you were talking about flood insurance. No one in Laurel had flood insurance, and way less than half of people even really had insurance, you know, at all. So that's the thing. But there's they don't have their grocery stores were 2 gas stations there. And that's where people would get their groceries. Both of those were flooded out, and one may not be salvageable. So now these people in Laurel have nowhere to buy groceries. And thank goodness they've got a food pantry that has stepped up. You know, they are utilizing the community center as a place there's a few families that are having to live at the community center. You know, they have a few organizations and groups, and myself, I am running their Amazon shopping lists for both towns. And that is a daily update. It's actually almost hourly because things change, their needs change. Yesterday, I'm here and I get a text from one of the women, and she's like, "Can you add drywall screws, you know, to the list?" So it's simple things like that you wouldn't think of. You know, they need air purifiers. And those are expensive. So now what we've come up with as well is box fans and furnace filters. You can put a furnace filter on the back of a box fan, and it will be a type of air purifier, because there are people living and sleeping in these homes.
Yeah.
And it is just, again, so dangerous. And it's, but they have no options. I've been running these Amazon lists, and I have just been amazed and so grateful to all of the things that people have been buying, you know. But again, the needs change daily, and so I have to keep these up. And it's like, we still need more people, you know, buying and purchasing these items for these people.
Now, is that somewhere that, say, someone from Fort Wayne can donate to?
Oh, absolutely. You just would go on Amazon, look for my name, look for registries, look for Christine Craig, and there's a bunch of us on there, I noticed, but you will see a Metamora flood relief list, and you will see a Laurel flood relief list, and you can go on there. And these items are all of Laurel's flood relief items are sent to Laurel, to the community center, and Metamora's is sent to Metamora there, so that it goes directly to them. And they will have it as soon as Amazon can get it delivered. So
when our government is been hollowed out and no longer working for people after you know, decades of neoliberalism and extraction and, you know, cutting and deregulation and lower taxes and everything, you're on your own, right? Rugged individualism. You're left with mutual aid and helping each other and your neighbors is sort of our last line of defense. And you know, you're really doing the Lord's work out there. So you know, I'm sure the folks in your community really appreciate you, and I'm humbled and honored to sit in your presence.
Oh, I'm not out there doing the physical work. I feel so guilty because I'm not out there doing that. But, you know, I'm doing what I can to help the people that are doing the physical work, because those are the true angels. So,
well, what you're doing is important, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Thank you.
Again, one last time, where can folks go to donate?
Well, you can donate to the Laurel Legacy Foundation. They have a GoFundMe set up. So if you want to do cash, you can do that. You can get on Facebook on the I Love Metamora, and they have links on there to their monetary donation. or you can go on Amazon. Yes, it's a big monster, but it's so helpful right now. You can get on Amazon, get under registries, look for my name, Christine Craig, and you will find a Laurel flood relief and a Metamora flood relief shopping lists. So,
all right, very good. Well, Christine Craig, thank you so much
Thank
for what you're
you.
doing out there. We appreciate you.
thank you for letting me talk about it.
Absolutely.
And you'll find those links at, I know, Hold Them Accountable, at Who's Left, at Progressive Indiana Network.
When I get a chance to
Yeah.
get home and process all this and put together show notes, we will
Exactly.
absolutely link those so folks have them. You got it. All right, Christine Craig out there doing the Lord's work. Derek, come on over, join me on the couch. I'm gonna wrap this thing up here. Your overall impressions for today. I love it. This place is giving Bartles and James.
Yeah, it is.
And if you get that reference, have you scheduled your colonoscopy?
Yes, I have. I actually had mine already. Thank you. I mean, everybody is out here doing the work already. I mean, all we have to do is vote them in. They've already been doing the job.
So much of what you said, I think that's good advice for candidates in general, and I've heard that before. Is just when you're out there, go out and act like you're the incumbent.
Mm-hmm.
You go out there and do the work. Your community will know you, that you're a person that they can trust to put you in a place of power. And we see it with all the folks out here. A lot of them are going out. They're acting like the incumbent. Republicans are nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
We did a empty chair town hall a few weeks ago. I had the pleasure of being the moderator for that, for Erin Houch, and she's about 2 full terms into her tenure in Congress now. Has never held an open town hall for her constituents to ask her questions. Where is she? Has anybody seen her in southeastern Indiana during these floods? Yeah. So yeah, she comes in, she gets a photo, gets to post on social media. Hey, look, I was here, I helped. She didn't do any actual
I'm
help.
sure those 15 minutes meant the world to Metamora.
And the people that are there, they know. They
Oh, yeah.
recognize
Oh, yeah.
that. They know what you're doing. They recognize somebody who's actually there helping, actually doing the work on the ground versus somebody who just shows up for the photo op.
I mean, look at Kirsten Root, Devin Wellington, Rachel Bleicher. They're all out there up in Hamilton County, and they're all filling sandbags.
And I want to give a shout out. I'm in a chat group with a few other folks, and Jesse Brown's a member of that chat, and one of the city councilors in Indianapolis, and he pointed to some of his fellow councilors who were out there, like literally filling sandbags quietly. Nobody's stopping for photo ops. They're just out there doing it. And, they saved one of those neighborhoods in Indianapolis, Ravenswood. The mayor was basically like, "Hey, get out! We're going to close the floodgates." And then the people there, they kept filling sandbags, and maybe with a little help from that quarry filling up in Carmel, the water didn't top over there.
I mean, everything that's going on right now in the state, in this country. I mean, where are we making America great again?
When they always, with that "Make America Great Again," they always sort of evoke the 1950s, the post-war era, and they always forget the part where the top marginal tax rate was 91% and the rich paid their fair share, and we had high union density.
And you could go to school for $4,000.
Yeah. When we invested in our communities, because investing in things like early childhood care, in education, these pay dividends far exceeding the initial investment in the long run, and really that is the fiscally conservative, responsible thing to do.
I believe if you look at early childhood education, it pays back 18-1.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard various numbers,
Yeah.
but you know what? They're all more than 1-to-1.
Yeah.
It's never a sunk cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is one of the reasons we have to send Democrats to Indianapolis, to Washington in November, because among the areas we disagree, and yes, there are many, I think generally we all agree that government can be a force for good and it can be used to improve people's lives.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, but Reagan's "I'm from the government and I'm here to help" isn't that scary anymore.
I bet the people in Indiana wish there were people
Yeah.
from the government here to help right about now.
Yeah.
And, decades of defunding have left us without anybody to help.
Mhm.
So, unfortunately, it often takes things like this, failures to prove that we need to do things a different way, that we need to take a turn and start rebuilding and reinvesting in our communities, in our government. And I hope that seeing the failure of Republican leadership the silver lining will be that it lights a fire under people's butts to do things differently.
Yeah.
Well, folks, it has been an honor and a pleasure. I want to thank Indiana Democrats for inviting us here today, having us out on the porch here at the IDEA conference. It has been an honor to spend this time at this historic facility with some people who are doing great work out there. I especially want to thank 9th District Chair Adam Dickey, who stuck his neck out to get us here. We appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed. I want to thank I want to thank Renee Mather from the Washington County Democrats, and who also is out there, one of the unsung heroes out there doing the Lord's work in her community that folks don't always know. I'm going to give her flowers that we've not seen her on camera today, but she's been doing stuff behind the scenes. So shout out to her. But for now, I think we are going to go ahead and wrap things up. Again, thanks all the candidates who came here and joined us today. Thanks everybody who was here in our audience. And thank all of you who are out there watching. I will be back tomorrow morning at my normal 10:30 a.m. for Who's Left This Week, Indiana's only unapologetically progressive Sunday morning talk show. My guests will be Jennifer David. She is a certified behavior analyst and activist in Southern Indiana. And my DSA Bloomington comrade, Bryce Green, will be joining us. We'll be talking about all the week's news from right here in Indiana all the way up to international stories. So please tune in tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. or catch that later wherever you get your podcasts. But until then, signing off on behalf of my friend Derek Holder, my name is Scott Aaron Rogers. Love each other, Indiana.